remind everyone to put a parking pass on your vehicle. They're available downstairs so that you're not ticketed. And then I'll just read a general comment about public comment before we start. Public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on non-agendized items must address matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city, and comments on agendized items must relate to that specific item. If comments do not fall into one of these categories, the city will provide you with an initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or on topic. If the warning is not followed, the mayor will direct the city clerk to cut off the microphone. And throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item or not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. And with that, I will read our land acknowledgement. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitment to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. And I will lead us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we have a few proclamations, special presentations to start our meeting this evening. And I'd like to invite Michael Lim from the San Mateo County Behavioral Health Commission and Violet Schuler from the County Youth Action Board for the proclamation. And Mary, would you like to read this proclamation?
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. I want everyone to know that I was just with Michael half an hour ago. So it's very nice to see you here again. It's so nice to meet you. Proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of Suicide Prevention Month, September 2025. Whereas, the City Council of the City of Pacifica will join others across the nation and worldwide in recognizing the month of September as Suicide Prevention Month, the week of September 7th through the 13th as National Suicide Prevention Week, and the day of September 10th as World Suicide Prevention Day, to communicate the message that suicide can be prevented. And whereas in 2024, 69 people died by suicide in San Mateo County, and 13,239 calls were received by the San Mateo County Crisis Line, including 5,613 calls, 42% routed through the 988 number, and 1,028 texts and 499 chats received through 998. And whereas residents of the City of Pacifica are urged to play a role in supporting each other and preventing suicide by knowing the signs of suicide, finding the words of support, and reaching out to local resources, including calling or texting the 988 Crisis Lifeline, contacting mobile crisis teams by calling 650-579-0350, alternatives to suicide peer support groups by Heart and Soul, Suicide Loss Support Group by Mission Hospice and Home Care, and Be Sensitive, Be Brave, and mental health first aid trainings by Kingdom Love and San Mateo County. And whereas the San Mateo County Behavioral Health and Recovery Services Office of Diversity and Equity, Suicide Prevention Committee, and city, county, and non-governmental partners are collectively organizing community activities to highlight September Suicide Prevention Month, including free in-person and virtual events, advocacy days, and communication campaigns. The 2025 theme is Support Your Way. Ongoing updates are posted at smchealth.org/SPM, and whereas individuals may join the San Mateo County Suicide Prevention Committee, which provides oversight and direction to suicide prevention efforts in the county and advances this mission by focusing on strategies and activities in the Suicide Prevention Roadmap 2021 through 2026. The roadmap recommends activities that will span across the continuum of care, including stable housing, education and training, and risk-appropriate treatment. Now, therefore, I, Mary Beer, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as Suicide Prevention Month in the City of Pacifica and call upon everyone in our community to find their role in suicide prevention, done this 25th day of August 2025.
Thank you so much, Mary. And Michael and Violet, I invite you to say any words for our community.
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Acting Honorable Madam Mayor and distinguished council members, Mr. City Manager and staff, and the wonderfully supportive residents of Pacifica. My name is Michael Lim, and I use the pronouns he, him, his. I am currently serving on the county's Behavioral Health Commission and here on behalf of San Mateo County Suicide Prevention Committee. Thank you to the City of Pacifica for joining other cities and the county in proclaiming September 2025 as Suicide Prevention Month. It represents a powerful moment to reflect on the immense human impact of suicide, while simultaneously fostering a renewed commitment to promoting mental health awareness and implementing preventive strategies within our communities. With me here this evening to accept the proclamation is a student leader within your community. She actually attends one of your schools in Pacifica, and I'll let her introduce herself.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Violet Schuler. I'm currently a rising senior at Oceana High School. I use pronouns she, her. I'm the community lead of the San Mateo County Behavioral Health Commission's Youth Action Board here on behalf of the San Mateo County Suicide Prevention Committee. As previously stated, the 2025 Suicide Prevention Month theme is Support Your Way and is a crucial initiative because it moves beyond a one-size-fits-all approach to mental health and suicide prevention. By emphasizing individual autonomy and choice, the theme helps reduce the stigma often associated with seeking help. It validates the diverse and potential and personal nature of healing, recognizing that it may look differently. This personalized approach empowers individuals to take control of their well-being and lessens the burden of feeling like they must conform to a specific method of support. September Suicide Prevention Month is important to me because when someone is convinced that the only thing they can do to make the world a better place or to create a solution to the problems surrounding them is to take their own life, it means our systems of connection have failed us. Why were they unable to find purpose or motivation? What was missing? Or what was noticed too late? Most importantly, why were they unable to speak up about it? And if they did, why couldn't we have helped them recover? All of these questions, spurred by the deaths of loved ones or community members, create a wall of confusion we are just beginning to climb, but we continue to climb nevertheless. The more openly we talk about mental health, place emphasis on the copious reasons to live and see another day, and the more we teach one another to care for and appreciate ourselves, the more lives we save. Therefore, starting today, I invite you to take action on one or more options. Please call 988 and save it on your phone and dial it when you or someone you care about is experiencing emotional distress or a mental health crisis. Please educate yourself on what signs of suicide could look like and look into resources in your community. Or you can attend a local Suicide Prevention Month event. I did some looking around for some local community events, and tomorrow via Zoom, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is hosting a virtual meeting called Talk Saves Lives, an introduction to suicide prevention for the Latinx and Hispanic communities. On Sunday, August 31st at Muscle Rock, there will be an overdose awareness night, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is hosting a walk in San Francisco on Pier 27 on Saturday, September 20th. You can get more information to take the above actions at smchealth.org/SPM. And I want to say thank you, Pacifica, for recognizing September 2025 as Suicide Prevention Month.
Thank you so much. Wow. Council, would you like to make any remarks?
I'd just like to say this is a super important issue, and I am so glad that there are people out there like you helping us handle and get our arms around such a significant problem. That phone number, you can't repeat it enough for those who may need it, the 988 number. Thank you for all you're doing. I hope that you're also able to get enough care for yourself if you're involved with handling any of those calls. I'm also concerned for the responders to those calls as well, because it does take an emotional toll on those, and I want to recognize them for all that hard work that they do as well. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank you so much for being here and your eloquent words. It was beautiful. Thank you so much. It's really, really important that we're able to hear each other and to not be afraid to say the word suicide, right? And not be afraid to ask someone directly, do you feel like killing yourself? How can I support you? And to not be afraid. I think I've always been afraid of that. Like suicide was like a bad word, like we're not supposed to talk about it. We can't do that anymore, right? We need to make it okay to talk about it. And so by you being here tonight and the message that you've shared with us tonight, it's going to help other people to be able to do that too. So I thank you so much, and I look forward to getting to know you better at Oceana. And Michael, thank you for all of the work that you do in all of your roles across the county. Trust me, he's got a lot of them.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so much for this presentation and for declaring September. It's October, isn't it? Oh no,
September.
August for suicide prevention month. And I think the most important is communication, that identify when people in my community, we don't do that. And identifying when somebody needs help and listen to them, what they have to say, or if you see them being different, so help them to deal with, at least to have an open communication with them so they can express how they feel. And maybe there's help out there. And also knowing where to go, the resources is important. So I just had to say thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Myra. I was just watching a TV show set in Norway last night, and the primary character works in Children Protective Services, and one of the teenage young men that she was working with committed suicide at the end of the show, and I went to bed just in tears. And she did too in the story, because she felt like she did what she could, but it wasn't enough. And it's never enough, right, if you can't stop this from happening. And I really appreciate what you're doing to take away the stigma of suicide, to take away the fear of asking for help. I love your motto for the year, support your way, because each person might need help in a different way. And so don't be afraid to say no to things that aren't helpful and say yes to things that are helpful, and to ask for what you might need that could be helpful. If you're not getting it immediately, there are a lot of resources out there, as we've heard tonight. And yeah, Michael and Violet especially, I'm so moved by your words, your passion, your eloquence. Thank you so much for being a voice for youth and this, because it's such a difficult time for high school students in particular, and really appreciate your presence there and here tonight. So thank you both very much. We have a proclamation to give you. We can take a photo if you like. Yeah, so we'll come up.
Thank you both so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take public comment at once on the two proclamations. So I'd like to welcome Nick Gracia, our battalion chief from North County Fire. And I see you have someone else with you, and maybe, oh, Jeremy Stafford? Is that Jeremy Stafford?
Chief Stafford is there.
Come on up, Jeremy.
He came to visit.
No, you're being shy. Okay. So I'll read the proclamation here for National Preparedness Month. Whereas during September, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the National Preparedness Month Coalition urge all Americans to better prepare their families for emergencies. And whereas the National Preparedness Month highlights the importance of community-wide preparedness efforts, including collaboration with first responders and participation in local activities such as Fire Prevention Week. And whereas National Preparedness Month encourages individuals and families to take an active role in their own preparedness, including creating emergency plans and building kits, which include 3 days of non-perishable food and water, a battery-powered or crank radio, a flashlight, first aid kit, whistle, dust masks, cell phone with charger, moist towelettes, and other supplies. And whereas extreme weather events resulting from climate change, wildfires, tsunamis, and other potential hazards impact communities across the nation. And whereas National Preparedness Month promotes the use of technology resources, including SMC Alert, emergency alert systems, and websites like www.northcountyfire.gov and ready.gov. And whereas it is highly recommended that our citizens become involved by participating in tsunami and earthquake preparedness classes and the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT program. And whereas this important safety information should be reviewed throughout the year in order to reduce the risk of injuries, loss of life, and property damage in the event of disaster. Now therefore, I, Christine Bowles, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as National Preparedness Month in the City of Pacifica and encourage all Pacifica residents to increase their knowledge and awareness of proper safety measures to follow before, during, and after a disaster. Done this 25th day of August, 2025. We welcome any comments from you, Nick.
Yeah, there was a lot of good information in there.
Yeah.
So good evening, first of all, the council and city leadership here. We're always happy to be at the chambers here. And a few of the points in there I just wanted to touch on because we've been doing so much kind of beefing up of our emergency preparedness and things that we're trying to get out to the community. I was actually just working on some items today that are going to be rolling out. It's actually perfect timing as we're heading into September. New information on our website, some new handouts that we'll be getting to the city buildings, more and more information about all those topics that you just covered. Being prepared in case of an emergency, knowing your routes to escape, knowing where your local resources are, having supplies. So lots of good information there, and we're always encouraging our public, our community, to check out the website. Talk to the firefighters if you see them out and about, if you see them shopping or out in the community out there. and ask questions if you have them. Of course, we're always around too if you have a resource. We are around, in fact, 24/7, we're always around. So if anything comes up, I just like to remind the public of that. And beyond that, we have our great crews at Station 71 and 72 looking out for the community here. They're always working hard and training and, along with all of our firefighters, always trying to stay ahead of the curve. It does seem like we've been having more and more things going on in the emergency world. So we're definitely still hard at work trying to stay updated, not only with the technological advances, but also just the core skills of, working in the community, dealing with everything that we deal with. So thank you for the recognition. It's nice to kind of formalize that, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Great, thank you so much. We really appreciate your service. Council members?
I'd definitely like to express my appreciation. Your department is part of the armor that protects our community and holds our community safe, but more importantly, you're the knights that are there to protect us. We don't usually see you on our best day. We usually see you on our worst day, but here you are trying to prevent us from having that worst day and trying to do the preparation to help minimize any of that kind of catastrophic thing. And I feel much safer personally as a result of that, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, I loved hearing the list and the proclamation.
Yeah.
Because I think the more times I hear it, the better. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to learn more and the fact that you are pushing more information out into our community. That means that we can also push more information out into our community. And I think that's our job, right? And so we need to do that as much as we possibly can. And on a side note, I think for me personally, over the last few years, getting to know the firefighters has been a real gift for me. It really is like a family, and I just appreciated all the information I've received from them and the patience and the kindness. So thank you for your service.
I wanted to thank you for your service. I also went to to meet with the fire department, and I learned all of the things that you guys do for the community. There's not enough, outreach out there. People don't come up when you have those workshops. So I guess we need to push that more to get more information so people know that get prepared before something happens. Thank you so much.
And thank you again for all you do to help our community overall be prepared. And I wanted to put in another plug for CERT and also the Map Your Neighborhood program through the police department. As many of you know, in the case of a big emergency, an earthquake that's regional, our fire and police are limited, right? And just the number of people and the places they can go, quickly. And so we always try to encourage people to be prepared to be on your own for 3 days. And the CERT program is really great at teaching some of the basic skills for that, how to use a fire extinguisher, how to dress wounds. I'm going to add duct tape to the list.
Good one. Very important.
Because you can do splints and, stop bleeding, with that. And then even more specifically, the Map Your Neighborhood is just for, a group of 10 or 12 neighbors around you where you get to know each other. If you have elderly people that might need help or animals that, you want to make sure get out or people that have skills that you can rely on. And so anyway, the more we can do to be self-reliant takes away the burden of our police and fire so that you can concentrate on the really big disasters. So anyway, but we so appreciate you being there for those big disasters and the little ones along the way. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to do it. And I was going to add one thing, because it's always fun to talk about something new that we're working on. One cool new thing that we've been working on very recently is a software program that maps out what an evacuation looks like, so we can pre-plan with real-time data of what it would look like if we had to evacuate a certain part of any of the 3 communities that we serve. So it's just another tool that you wouldn't necessarily hear about unless we were talking about it, that helps us be prepared along with the police department to plan for events. So it's, things are always happening. even if they don't seem like they're out there, it's kind of fun to share that information with you.
Is that the Ladris?
That's exactly
technology?
right.
Yeah,
That's
such
exactly right.
such a great tool.
Yeah.
I've seen a demo. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
And
Really neat.
so you can also map, like if the roads are flooded, right?
That's right.
So what are the other alternate routes?
That's right.
So
That's right. Great technology.
Really great tool. Should we take a picture and then do public comment, or would you like a picture with
Sure,
your public
sure, we'll take a picture,
proclamation? And
sure.
Jeremy, please do come up.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure we're good before we go here. All good?
Sorry?
All good, right?
Oh, good, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to open up public comments on the National Suicide Month and National Preparedness Month. If anyone wants to make a comment. I don't think I have any cards. Emily, is there anyone on the line?
There are no raised hands.
And I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry, I wasn't planning to be leading the meeting yet today, but Mayor Beckmeyer is on her way. Okay, so I'm going to move to our next item, which is a special presentation by the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District and the Lindenbar Water Quality Coalition. So I'd like to invite Public Works Director of, Deputy Director of Public Works Wastewater, Louis Sun, and Roland Yip, Deputy Director of Field Services Engineering, to introduce the presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. Roland Yip, Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer. I'm going to start us off, and I'm going to pass it to the Resource Conservation District, and then they will pass it to Deputy Director Sun to give us an overview of what wastewater does for the TMDL, and then the Lindenbar Watershed Coalition is going to go last at the end. So starting us off here, the San Pedro Creek and Pacifica State Beach total maximum daily load, the TMDL. So the TMDL is the maximum amount of pollutant a water body can receive while still meeting water quality standards. And the purpose of this is to restore and protect impure waters, and this is a requirement that is under the Clean Water Act, Section 303D. Next slide, please. And an overview of what this means for Pacifica. Both San Pedro Creek and Pacifica State Beach are listed as impure waters under Clean Water Act Section 303D due to our elevated indicator bacteria such as E. coli and Enterococcus. And then the purpose is, yes, we're trying to protect our water bodies from water contact through recreation by reducing bacteria exceedance. Some of the pollutants that we have identified in our water bodies is from sanitary sewer system, municipal stormwater system, horse and animal facilities, domestic animals such as pet waste, and natural wildlife. So there is a consent item tonight with the Resource Conservation District, RCD. Our agreement with them started in November 2016. The city and county approved the interagency agreement with RCD for water quality monitoring services to fulfill the TMDL. So RCD has been conducting sampling and water monitoring plans as part of this agreement, and they have also completed the Pacifica State Beach bacteria special study as required by the Water Board. A total of 4 agreement amendments have been approved since 2016 for additional sampling and continuing monitoring plans to the RCD. And tonight before us, we have a consent agenda item for the 5th amendment to RCD to continue their monitoring plan through 2026 to 2028. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to the San Mateo County, San Mateo Resource Conservation District.
I don't know how to, I can't see anything, and I don't know how to advance anything. How do we advance stuff, do you know? Hello.
Hello.
Is one of these bevy of remotes one that I use to advance? Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks very much. Hi, my name is Kellix Nelson. I'm the Executive Director of the Resource Conservation District, or RCD. And with me is, well, he'll introduce himself shortly, our Water Quality Specialist. I am happy to see you. I have not been here for about 2 years. I try to come every year or two to present to City Council to make sure that you know about this special district that is serving your constituents. And so I'll just maybe introduce you for a moment to what the Resource Conservation District is for those who aren't familiar, and then pass it off to Clifton. So the RCD is a special district in coastal San Mateo County. We've been around for over 85 years, and fundamentally our job is to help people help the land. We're locally led conservation, and we take that wherever it brings us, whether it's water quality, forest health, or wildlife. And we're a non-regulatory agency. We provide often confidential technical assistance and work across public and private lands. Anybody who needs help, we're here to help them. We do cross-boundary work, so there may be sometimes solutions to your needs that are not within your jurisdiction or a particular property boundary. We're able to work across all of those, and fundamentally, we're boots on the ground, up and down and across the county, getting work done. In San Mateo County, these are the focal areas or the priorities that we work on, and these have been established by our stakeholders. Conservation districts are in pretty much every county in California. There's about 100 of them, and there's a few thousand nationwide. I like to say we're the best form of local government you've never heard of. And part of that is because we do provide a lot of confidential assistance. But because we're locally led conservation, the way that we work is comparable to the Peace Corps, where there's an overriding mission, but it might look very different in different places based on what the needs are in the community. So these are the areas that we focus on currently, having to do with really recovering populations of threatened and endangered species, improving water quality and protecting water resources, protecting forest health and reducing the risk of catastrophic fire, and a lot of work that we do to mitigate and adapt to climate change. And we were formed by farmers in the 30s and still help a lot with agriculture up and down the coast. And then our partnership with you in Pacifica has been over decades as well and is wide-ranging. Right now, we've been working with you on making improvements to Adobe Bridge. We've been working with your Public Works Department sometimes on managing the creek during storms, wildfire mitigation, eucalyptus management, a lot about water quality that we'll be talking about this evening, and a lot of assistance to your residents or your businesses when they call and ask us for help. So that said, that's the big picture about us. I'm going to pass it over to Clifton to talk about our water quality program, and maybe I'll just tee it up for him in a nutshell. If I could oversimplify the data that he's going to show you, there are some concerns, but the good news is that it's not all bad news. So there are places that we think are not of huge concern, and then we do think that there are places where there are discrete things that we can do and focus resources to get some solutions in the ground. So I'd say that's the biggest picture, and I'll pass it off to Clifton.
Great, thank you, Kellix, for that overview, and council members for hearing us today. As she mentioned, my name is Clifton Herman. I'm a water quality specialist with the Resource Conservation District. The RCD's water quality program has these. Is sort of based on 3 tiers. We seek to understand the sources of pollution in our communities. We seek to reduce them in any way that we can. It's a different approach based on any type of pollution that we're talking about. And then, of course, we engage the community through outreach and special programs, and we'll speak a little bit about that this evening as well. Okay, that's that. All right. One moment. So tonight we're going to be showing you some of our water quality monitoring results in the San Pedro Creek. But first I want to set the stage a little bit. So the RCD helps with the city's obligations under the TMDL, as Roland mentioned, stands for Total Maximum Daily Load. And this is an action plan established by the Water Board to restore clean water. Also, as Roland mentioned, San Pedro Creek is impaired for bacteria, and the RCD has helped with that monitoring work since about 2016. It's a little bit more complicated than these questions that we have listed here, but these are the basic questions that we seek to answer through our monitoring work. So what are the sources of bacteria to the creek? Are they controllable as opposed to something like wildlife inputs, which are considered not controllable? And what are the trends? How are we doing? How are things looking? The city has been doing some best management practices listed here as BMPs over the years. So are they working? And before I dive into the data, I want to pause for a moment and say that the reason that we're concerned about bacteria is because they're an indicator of pathogens. So essentially, this is a human health concern. But there's some nuance here because it's not necessarily the bacteria that make people sick, but other things like salmonella, adenovirus, norovirus, that tend to coincide with the bacteria. And so, a high amount of bacteria may, but it also may not coincide with this pathogenic risk that we're talking about. So how do we analyze this? How do we look at it? The RCD uses two tools. The first of those tools is we look at bacteria concentrations in the creek water. And the second tool is called microbial source tracking. So the first of those is when we measure bacteria in the creek to find out how much bacteria is in a sample, and which again is sort of this proxy for pathogenic risk. The second tool, microbial source tracking, is when we test the DNA of the bacteria to see what kind of animal it's coming from. And together, these two tools help us address these questions. So here we have a map of San Pedro Creek watershed. You can see our water year 2024 sampling locations in green. Little sidebar here, you may be familiar with fiscal years for budgeting. I'm going to be talking about water years. This is essentially how we measure time for monitoring water. And as you can see on the map, the watershed can be broken down into these, maybe this, does it point? Maybe not. Oh, no. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so the watershed can be broken down into these sub-watersheds that are shown in different colors here. And breaking the watershed into the parts like this really helps us identify the source of the issue, because as we're doing our investigations, we can break apart, look at different sections of the watershed as a whole. So our first of the three questions is which land uses and or sources contribute most bacteria to the creek? What I mean when I say sources, it's not hyper-focused. So we're not talking about Gary down the street. And when we talk about land uses, again, we're not talking about the party that Gary had over the weekend that went too late. What we're talking about is what animal it's coming from is the source. So that would be human. Is it coming from dogs? Is it coming from horses or wildlife? And then when we're talking about land use, we're talking about, is this residential? Is it commercial, open space, what have you? So here we have two maps showing our water year 2024 bacteria concentration results, broken down into the wet versus the dry season. And the warm color dots are showing results that are greater than our regulatory thresholds, or what we at the RCD call exceedances, or in the water quality world in general. And then the greens are concentrations that are below that regulatory threshold, which is a good thing. So we went out 4 times to sample during the wet season and 4 times during the dry season. And the results shown in these are the average within season for those 4 events. So the reason that we look at wet versus dry season is because they tell us different things. So dry season results can be very locationally specific. And for example, if there was a singular sort of incident that resulted in bacteria entering the creek, we would be able to more easily see that in the dry season. Whereas in the wet season, we're kind of more measuring the extent of bacteria across the landscape, which is valuable, but it's important to keep in mind that this picks up both uncontrollable sources as well as the controllable sources. So by that I mean wildlife. On the right-hand map, you can see there's one dot that is in red. That dot is our site called COSD. It's a storm drain that is located right at the intersection of Seville and Oviedo Court. And in our dry season results, we did see high concentrations at that one location. This storm drain drains into what we at the RCD call Crespi Canal. And we see a lot of opportunity to clean the beach by cleaning the bacteria that's coming from that Crespi Canal area. And we've actually been working with the city staff to apply for grants to hopefully address that issue. Still looking at that right-hand side, you can see the main stem of the creek is all green. So that was really good to see that in water year 2024. So then if we look over to the left-hand side, as I mentioned, this is kind of showing us when all of the different bacterial sources are getting washed into the waterway. And you can see that by seeing a lot more yellow, orange, and red on the left-hand figure in the wet season. And particularly, you can kind of see, it's a little bit buried, but there's a red dot on the left-hand figure in the main stem, and that's actually just downstream of the confluence with the Crespi Canal. So that kind of supports our finding that this is an area that we would like to learn more about. So our second question is, are controllable bacteria sources, for example, human, horse, dog, present in the San Pedro Creek watershed? Before I get into that, I'll take a little step back. Our first question was, where is it coming from? The second question is, can it be controlled? And what I mean when I say controllable is things that we can reasonably do something about. So the TMDL was, for example, in general, wildlife is not considered controllable because those animals live there and they are contributing to the habitat. The TMDL has what's called allowable exceedances that are supposed to account for those uncontrollable wildlife inputs. In this watershed, So these results are showing our MST testing. As I mentioned, that stands for microbial source tracking. And that's our genetic test to see what animal these bacteria are coming from. And in this watershed, we test for human, horse, and dog bacteria. I think it's important to say here that MST results are not quantitative. And by that I mean it tells us whether the feces were present from that particular animal, but it doesn't say how much. So we have to do a little bit of investigative work here. So looking at this figure here, there's kind of a lot going on, but these are our MST results from water year 2024. The sites are arranged on the vertical axis from upstream at the top to downstream at the bottom. You can, and then each of the, on the x-axis you have our sampling dates. There is a blue line in the center. We have our wet season results on the left and the dry season results on the right of that blue dotted line. You can ignore the gray squares, but the green squares are results where we tested for that species and we did not see it. And then the red squares are where we tested for that species and we did see it. We have dog on the top left, horse on the top right, human bottom left, and universal on the bottom right. So the universal I haven't really talked about yet. This is a non-specific baseline of all the different types of bacteria that might be there. So this tells us whether bacteria are present across all potential sources, including wildlife. And this is essentially a quality check. So this tells us, and what it tells us is that we do have animal-associated bacteria in the creek. But when we're asking this question, are controllable sources present, we look to those other three boxes, the horse, dog, and human, and we can see that we have hits, what we call them, for dog and human bacteria in the creek. So yes. A couple things that I want to point out. In the bottom left square, the human one, the row of red dots is our site COSD. So that's that same storm drain that I was talking about previously. It's right at Seville and Oviedo. So it's really interesting that we were consistently seeing human-associated bacteria at that site. Looking over to the dog on the top left, that block of sites where it's green and red with some red in there, those are all in that Crespi sub-watershed, so those are all kind of draining to that same area. And there we can see, there's no clear pattern, but we do have detections of dog, for dog. So with human waste, it looks like we can focus on certain sites or areas from these results because it's very focused at that one site. Whereas for dog waste, it appears to be more sporadic across the watershed. So we're noticing different potential strategies to address different sources of bacteria in the creek in these different areas. And of course, all of this is informative, but we do want to manage expectations a little bit. Microbial source tracking tells us what is there, but it does not tell us how much. Like I mentioned, it's not quantitative. And so it can be useful because it tells us where to look further, but it can't really be used on its own to answer all of our questions. A little reminder, I guess, that, again, it's not the bacteria that make you sick, but they indicate the presence of other pathogens that they tend to be associated with that can make you sick. Another note is that people are more likely to get sick from human-originating pathogens rather than other species. So human to human is much more common for getting sick than human to cow, for example. And then, unlike some other well-documented pollutants, like, for example, copper, we know how much copper is bad for people and bad for animals. We know how to measure it. It's consistent. We can do it the same way every time. The science around bacteria monitoring is quickly evolving, ever-changing, and we at the RCD work hard to stay on top of this science, and the MST testing is one thing we do to try and stay on top of all of that. So the last of our three questions are, what are the trends? What are we seeing? What's happening? Here we have a figure that looks quite similar to the last one, but this is not our MST results. This is going back to bacterial concentrations. So anything that's green is below our regulatory threshold value, and everything that's red is exceeding that. These data are going all the way back to November of 2015 on the left to the August of 2024 on the right. And these are our main stem sites. So these are just along the main portion of San Pedro Creek. The site at the top is the most upstream, and the site at the bottom, SPCM, is our creek mouth site. Quick, I guess, just like first observation that we have with this figure is at the top, you tend to see a lot more green, whereas at the bottom at the creek mouth, you do tend to see more red. That's just showing us these bacteria do flow downstream, and they, in this watershed are accumulating as they flow downstream. Another notable observation, and I think this plays to answering this question, is, are we having any effect? If the things that we're doing are having an effect, you would want to see more red on the left and kind of more green on the right. And we actually did have 2 sampling events in water year 24 where all of our main stem sites were below that regulatory threshold limit. That is the first time that we've seen that happen since 2016. And so that's a really good thing to see. There's of course no guarantee that it will continue, but I think that the work that has been put into trying to address this issue, could be contributing to seeing that improvement. And of course, when I say us, I really mean the global we. I want to give a shout out to the Department of Public Works that has been doing a significant amount of work to try and address this issue over the years. I know that there has been a huge effort and a lot of money going towards this, and we're all committed to working together to find ways to hopefully address this issue and keep our community safer.
Can I ask just a quick question on that slide? So
Yeah.
the gray is just that you have not tested, so you've maybe have shifted the sites that you're testing over time?
Yeah. So some of the sites, I mean, in most cases, it's just that we've added sites over time. We try to keep them consistent so that we can do these long-term comparisons like this, but in some cases, when we find an area that we think we want to be investigating more, we'll sort of shift resources over to that area. For example, the sort of Crespi sub-watershed that I was talking about is an area that we've been doing much more targeted sampling in the last few years. So,
Thank you.
yeah, that's where some of those changes are coming from. And yeah, with that, that's our presentation. We're happy to take any questions from the council members.
Okay. Thank you so much. What my agenda tells me here is that we'll hear from the San Pedro Creek Water Coalition first, and then we can do questions for both of you, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's perfect. In that case, I do want to give a quick plug for our First Flush volunteer water quality monitoring program. One of the sites is on Pacifica State Beach. This is the longest running volunteer water quality monitoring program in the state. We have data going back all the way to year 2000, so it's entering its 26th year. And it's a fantastic opportunity, and it provides really valuable data for our community, learning more about the big first rain of the year and all of the pollutants that may enter our ocean at that time. So,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council Member Lewis Sun, Deputy Director of Public Works Wastewater. And before I introduce Mr. John Keener from the Linamar Water Quality Coalition, I'd like to also share some of the work that Public Works has done over the years in the Linamar Valley. And this year has been a very productive year for us. We have worked on about over 300 through a lateral grant program applications this past year. And also our staff has completed about 20 miles worth of CCTV inspecting our sewer lines, also maintaining them as well. Usually we target about 15 miles a year, but this year we have done extra more. And the Lower Linamar Sewer Rehabilitation Program is also on track on completion at this fall. So that project started last year, and we have really progressed, and we are anticipating getting this project completed on time. And the staff is also looking at future CIP project that would enhance the sewer infrastructure in the Linamar Valley as well. And lastly, the equalization basin that has been proven to be valuable, especially during wet weather, help preventing sewer sanitary spills. And also this year we used the EQ basin while we're in construction for the UV disinfection project. The basin was very instrumental in terms of doing shutdowns, and we were able to actually have shutdowns during the day when there's high flow utilizing the equalization basin. And lastly, I know it's not on the slide, but I would like to also point out the city's public works, the pet waste reduction program. So this is with field services and also with engineering, where field services goes out and they will stock the dog waste stations, and also engineering and doing events such as Earth Day and Fog Fest, where we're educating our resident about reduction in pet waste. And we also give out doggy bags during those events, and I would like to welcome all the residents to attend this year's Fog Fest. City will have a booth there, and we'll be there and providing dog bags for residents and also educating them as well. So with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Keener, will be representing the Linamar Water Quality Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz.
Good evening. It's really great to see all of you, and I don't see you enough, I suppose. I'm John Keener, for those that don't know me. I'm a former council member, and but today I'm speaking as the scientific lead for the Lindemar Water Quality Coalition, and this was an organization that was formed about 1.5 years ago out of these 5 organizations, and we have representatives from a few of those organizations here with us tonight. I won't introduce them each specifically, but I will introduce Stella the Steelhead. Okay. Well, Lindemar Beach is polluted, and every year it shows up as one of the 5 most polluted beaches in the state, and this has been going on for years. And this is due almost entirely to pollution in San Pedro Creek, which empties into the ocean at Lindemar Beach. We've tested San Pedro Creek at 4 sites every Monday for more than a year for fecal indicator bacteria, 2 species, Enterococcus and E. coli. And by the way, these bacteria could originate from the gut or poop of any warm-blooded animal. Samples are processed at the Surfrider Lab in Princeton, and they're processed by the same reagents and procedures as are used in accredited labs, but we are not accredited, of course. However, as a PhD in microbiology, I can assure you that the process is fairly straightforward to determine how many bacteria are in a sample. And this is a map of the watershed. Possibly it looks familiar. For our purposes, on the upper left is Lindemar Beach, and San Pedro Creek flows into the ocean at the southern end of the beach. And San Pedro Creek is shown as the blue line extending to the right or eastward from the beach. And our sampling sites are highlighted in yellow. There's 4 of them. One of them is right at the creek mouth, but not in the ocean. It's at the mouth of the creek. Then at the Peralta Bridge, Adobe Sanchez, and at the Lindemar Bridge over San Pedro Creek. So numerous storm drains empty into the creek, and they're shown in black. Everything that washes into the gutter or down a storm drain ends up in the creek and eventually the ocean. This includes soap from washing cars, which is harmful to the steelhead trout like Stella. Stella doesn't like soap. And there's a few other things that we'd like to test for in the future that may be in the mix during the rainy season. And also those piles of dog poop that aren't picked up by their owners. They get washed down through the storm drains. But of course, we're thankful for those responsible dog owners that do pick up after their dogs, and they're by far the great majority. So here's one of our volunteers, Hillary Tim. She's getting ready to sample from the Peralta Creek Bridge, or Peralta Road Bridge. And that's a 24-foot pole, extendable pole that she's got. And on the end of it, outside the picture, is the little sample vial that collects 100 mils of a sample. Other sites are a little easier to get to, and we can use a shorter pole. So here's more than a year's worth of data for Enterococcus, which I don't expect you all to read. It's from the creek are the leftmost columns, and those are our data, and the data of the Lindemar Water Quality Coalition. And the ocean are the rightmost columns, and they are from the San Mateo County Department of Health and Surfrider. And our numbers at the creek mouth agree with those that are taken on the same day by the health department in the surf zone where the creek begins to mix with the ocean. Further north, and by the pump station, the county health department also samples there, and that sample seldom exceeds the recreational limit. The red numbers are the highest counts. They're 5 to 24 times the state and federal recreational limit, and they're about 20% of the samples. And the brown numbers are 1 to 5 times the recreational limit. So 83% of the samples tested for Enterococcus exceeded the standard. In general, the highest numbers come in the rainy season, with the very highest coming during or immediately after the rains, when the storm sewers are emptying into the creek. However, there are a few scattered days during the dry season with very high numbers, like those that we see after a rainstorm. And these we don't have an explanation for. I mean, we don't specifically have an explanation for. We can speculate, but we've been doing that for years, and it hasn't gotten us anywhere. So that was Enterococcus. This is E. coli. We have about 8 months of data for E. coli, and the story's about the same. Elevated numbers during the rainy season, and especially after the rains, and lower numbers during the dry season, but with the exceptional high days that, like we saw with Enterococcus. So I invite you to visit our website for current data, San Pedro Creek waterquality.org. And to summarize, fecal indicator bacteria are highest during and after rains, and lowest during the dry season. But they are, but even during the dry season, there are occasional very high readings, and those are concerning. And so, one reason why they're concerning is that even with sampling every week, we are not getting the full picture of what's happening in the creek. So we're catching a few extremely high bacterial events during the dry season, but how many are occurring, we sample on Mondays, how many are occurring on Wednesdays and Friday and so on? And so that's what we tried to address by sampling every week. We tried to increase the frequency a lot, but obviously we can't increase the frequency to every day. So that's a problem. I should note that fecal indicator bacteria are not the real health risk. Rather, it's the bacteria and viruses and even fungi in feces that are hazardous, and especially those in human feces. So it's important to identify which species are polluting the creek. And to do that, we have just begun quantitative PCR testing. That's polymerase Polymerase, oh darn, I've forgotten, but that is similar to the source tracking that RCD spoke about with this difference, and that is it's quantitative. So I won't go into the details of how they do it, but it is quantitative. And so it will identify whether humans, dogs, horses, or wildlife feces are present in the creek. And of course, we'll continue with our bacteriological testing also. Finally, we have 2 recommendations for beachgoers to avoid fecal contamination. One is don't surf near the mouth of the creek. Probably from the Taco Bell north on the beach is safe most of the time. And the second is don't let your kids play in the creek. And if they are exposed, rinse them off with fresh, clean water. So again, our website is San Pedro Creek waterquality.org, and that's the end of my presentation, and we invite your questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John, and also Kellex and Clifton for your presentations. I don't currently have any cards from the public for this, so if you have any questions with all this amazing science that has just been presented, please fill out a yellow card in the back. Do we have public comment?
We have one raised hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and take that, and
It is
yeah.
for Kimberly Finale.
Okay. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bowles. Hello to the City Council, the city staff. I am a proud resident of this city, and I want to thank CRCD and Lindemar Water Quality Coalition for their comprehensive presentation. I want to thank the City of Pacifica for focusing their resources in this space and shining a light on what, in my opinion, is one of the most important issues facing this great city. And so I just want to give my sincere and heartfelt thank you to all of you. I've learned a lot from watching this presentation. I hope to learn more going forward. I love and am on our beaches constantly and do everything that I can to help keep them clean. And I just cannot say enough how much I appreciate these efforts. And I know that I speak for many, many, many other community members who likely do not know that this testing and this care is being taken to help our beaches become more healthy. And I just, again, am just filled with gratitude, and I hope you all have a great night. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Kimberly.
There are no other raised hands.
Okay, I see one more card coming this way, maybe two. Okay. Oh, okay. So Greg, and I don't know if I'm going to Gah again. Sorry, I know I just got introduced to you, and I forgot how to pronounce your name already. Please state your
Greg Gahagan.
Gahagan.
Nice try. So since we have everybody here, I'm curious, do we know how many of the sewer laterals have been replaced? We can figure out where the dog poo comes from, but since the humans are part of it, I presume it comes from the laterals? Do we know what percentage of the laterals have been replaced already? I know mine's replaced.
I heard them say 300, but I don't know what percentage that is in the.
I think there was a grant for 300.
Oh.
But I presume we should know how many of them within the city of Pacifica.
Well, we can follow up. We can't answer your question while you're asking, but council can follow
Great, I'd love to know that.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, I'll invite any council questions. And maybe, yes, I'm going to close public comment. I don't see any other cards. Perhaps Director Sun could answer that question if you know offhand. How many laterals we have in the, oh, there's another card coming. Perhaps.
Mayor Pro Tem, I can go back and check with staff and we can get an accurate number of sewer lateral has been replaced in the Linamar Valley. But just from my experience and my estimate, I think we're only looking at roughly probably 20% of our sewer lateral being replaced in
Okay.
Linamar Valley.
Okay. And maybe don't go away. Was there another public comment? Sorry about that item.
There's one more.
Louis, I just had a carry on to that issue. For comparability, is it possible for us to go all the way back to 2015?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, just so we can look and see the trend if there is one. I know we did a giant project in Lower Lindemar. I just don't remember when it was. Thank you.
Okay. And while you're there, can I, this is general public comment too. That's what it says. Oh, but it says water quality.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. I will reopen public comment for Geneva Chan. Sorry, it's confusing.
Hi, my name is Geneva Chan, and I'm a student at Terra Nova High School, and I serve as junior class president. And I just wanted to thank City Council for highlighting this issue, and also RCD and Lindemar Water Quality Coalition for all your efforts and leadership. The water contamination at Lindemar is a very important issue for students and youth in Pacifica. And if there's any way youth can help through outreach or educational campaigns, I'm sure schools would, and our student organizations would love to get involved. Thank you again for this great presentation. It was very informational.
Thank you. Thank you, Geneva. Okay, and with that, I will close public comment and bring it back to council for questions. Thank you.
I think I saw Myra actually trying to speak first.
Thank you. I was wondering if we have signage to let people know that the creek kids shouldn't be playing, and also at Lindemar Beach, what area people should not be surfing or getting into the water.
Yes, we do have signage across the beach to let people know about not playing in the waters.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wright?
I have a couple of quick questions. One, I was wondering if your test distinguished between coyotes and dogs.
We have the same question. And we, as far as we know right now, we're not sure. So we've actually been in communication with the genetic lab that runs those tests. It's something that I had mentioned in the presentation is that this is all, like the science for it is very nuanced and evolving all the time. And something that the lab owner told us, the principal investigator at the lab, is that it can be different watershed to watershed. So sometimes it depends a little bit on the diet of that animal. And so we have been working to try and find some fresh coyote poop in different watersheds and test that against our dog poop markers to investigate that a little bit further. But yeah, we have the same question, so that's a good one. Oh yeah, and there's different kinds of potential cross-reactivity that we're interested in as well. So raccoons, for example, might be something that would be cross-reacting with some of our tests. So it's definitely a possibility, and genetic science is sort of sold as being something very final, when really it's pretty messy science. So.
Okay, and then it's frequently my experience that after we have a meeting like this, get a bunch of information, I'll go to sleep, I'll wake up with questions. Are you open to being reached out to for more questions? And what would be the best way for me to get a hold of you to get other answers as they come up?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my email was provided in the presentation slides. You can find me there. Anybody is welcome to reach out to me, any of you, but also members of the public. And we also recently published our report that presents all of the data that I presented today and some. We did some additional analyses that we weren't able to include today. And we tried to be very comprehensive with that report. So we're happy to share that with all of you. And yeah, you're welcome to reach out to me if there's any questions that you have.
And then another follow-up question, is there any analysis has been done of any of the watersheds to see, like, for example, if it's coming from a horse ranch, for example, how are you mitigating that runoff?
Yeah, so the reason that there's so many different ways of getting at this is because there's no one approach that tells the whole story, right? So the work that Clifton spoke about and that John Keener also spoke about, that's about quantifying, just kind of tells you where there's high counts of bacteria. And then often you'll go maybe up a creek or up a watershed and try to get a point above and below and start to focus in there. And then sometimes that's where we'll bring in the DNA testing. The PCR that John described is the microbial source tracking, or a type of microbial source tracking that we described. And so we've been up in all of these tributaries and sub-watersheds. And then over time, you'll see that we started to focus on where we saw the chronic problems. I mean, as John Keener said, we're not monitoring every day. So at any given point, something could happen. But really, we're interested in where are there chronic issues with bacteria. And so by monitoring up and down these creeks in the watershed over time and in different ways, and also staying current with the evolving science, we've been able to really focus in on where we see the chronic problems and the most opportunity for remediation. And when we say the chronic problems, we are also meaning by that not just large amounts of bacteria, but the bacteria that's most likely to cause people to get sick.
And is there any...
I'm sorry, let me correct that. I beg your pardon. The bacteria that are associated with having pathogens that could get people sick.
And on the horizon, is there any potential for getting a quantitative analysis of how much is from what?
Yeah, what PCR does and doesn't quantify. Do you want to speak to that? I mean, yeah.
One of the challenges with that genetic testing is that you can't compare quantitatively your dog concentration to your horse concentration, for example. And I'll reiterate that in 2024, we did not get any hits for horse in our samples along the main stem. But so what you can do, though, is within one location compare dog to dog or human to human. So, for example, the city of San Diego did a large study where they went out and they just tested human at all of their sites. And when you do that, you are able actually to quantify or quantitatively compare, okay, at this site we had more human than this site. These tests tend to add up pretty quickly in terms of cost, so we try to be really intentional about how we do that. But that is something that we recommended in our report to maybe help us hone in on the sources of human bacteria, potentially by using that approach and treating it like a quantitative test within the capacity that we can.
I have an analogy.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Let me offer an analogy. Is you might, if you were being tested at the doctor's office for maybe like white blood cell count, right? That's quantitative. But if you were to compare that to maybe like a different test, a different virus or something else in your blood, it's not like, so these microbial source tracking tests are developed individually for different animals. And so they're just not, just like a test you get from the doctor quantifying something in your blood to something else in the blood, they're not really comparable because they're just different tests. It's the same with this genetic testing of these bacteria.
And do you have experience in, as people like we've been doing the Lindemar Sewer Project for a while, have you had experience in other jurisdictions where what's the lag time between getting the work accomplished that might be a source to when you actually see results?
One of the things, as Clifton mentioned earlier, about bacterial science is it's messy. And, like mercury, the amount that's going to get somebody sick. It's a one-to-one, to some degree. Bacterial science has a lot of background noise. A lot of the bacteria you see might not be a risk. There might be no pathogen in them. And a lot of the bacteria that you see might not be controllable. And then there's all of these variables on the landscape, like how long was it dry before the first rain? And then maybe that first rain had a lot of bacteria in it. Did that mean that there were more bacteria loading on the landscape? Not necessarily. It meant that it was like a bigger wash, essentially. It's a very multivariate, complex, evolving science. And there's not epidemiology in this. Like, we're not looking at what is actually the highest risk. We're just looking at where there are the most bacteria in many cases. So to give you another example, it might be that that you'll see a large number of bacteria in conditions where bacteria grow well. So it might be that there's some algae or some sediments in some storm drain, and the original source of that bacteria is long gone, but the colony grows well, but any pathogens are long gone. So that's why it's so important to be doing the kind of work that the coalition is doing and the RCD is doing, that's like going out regularly, going out frequently, going out over time and looking at trends. And so then to get more specifically to your question, like how long between when you make an intervention do you see a result? Sometimes right away. Sometimes, let's say somebody was piling up manure on the bank of the creek, fresh manure. You move it away from the creek, you see an almost immediate response. Sometimes if it's having to do with like leaking lateral lines, there's a lot of scoping, which the city has done, a lot of scoping, and then you might start to, do the tests and find out, and then you have to do outreach, and then you have to do some capital projects and keep doing it until you see change. Some of the recommendations might be about, slow it, sink it, spread it, basically work with nature, let nature do its work and be the filters that it is, and then you can see some changes over time in different water conditions. I wish that I had a simpler answer for you. I know people really want to see a smoking gun and want to see something that we can fix that has a complete and immediate response. We might not see that here. It might be a lot of things over time, and it may be, we don't know yet, but it may be that if we control everything that's controllable, you'll still see spikes in bacteria at times because of things like wildlife. But still, we can move forward with controlling everything that we can control.
Thank you. I also want to recognize that it seems to me that Public Works has also been doing quite a lot of work on this, and I want to express my appreciation for that in trying to really attack this problem. And I want to thank our volunteers as well for addressing this. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and echo everything that Greg just said. Thank you for all those questions. And thank you so much for your presentation tonight. I really appreciate it. It's really important information. And I just kind of wanted to reiterate the generous offer by our Terra Nova Junior Class President, Geneva Chan, because I think it would be wonderful if one of you could connect with her so she can share some information with her school community. Maybe if we take a break in between before our meeting starts. Thank you.
That'd be great. Sue, do you have any questions?
I noted, and I understand about controlling the things we can control or attempting to, but I also want to understand if there's any measurement or look at bird feces and the impact of that in these bacteria? It may be, you're going to tell me, yeah, we never see this in birds, so then not an issue. Clearly, we don't control birds, but we do have a lot of tree canopy around in the vicinity of the creek and everywhere in Pacifica. So I wonder, I've always wondered about that impact and how we measure that even though we can't do anything about it, right? So if we find out, well, 75% of the problem is birds, can't do anything about that. We can still control what we can control. But it's always been a question, and so I was very curious about that, as to how do you address birds?
It looks like among all of us, I've been nominated by default to say we don't know. I mean, this is something I've asked about also, and I think that we could do some MST for bird. I think that this is a lot of this scope of work was also developed with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. And I don't know exactly the background on why they didn't. I'd have to go back and look through. I do think, however, that we shouldn't step away from the fact that we're seeing some pretty strong signals for human inputs at what we're calling the Crespi Canal, and that is pretty immediately upstream of the beach. And even if there are bird inputs and whether or not those are controllable, we do have some things right now that I think make sense to focus on. But I don't know if you wanted to.
I guess just a little bit to say that we did, I believe it was in 2023, it predates me at the RCD, but we did a special study on the beach itself, and that did include some testing of bird sources as well. But I had mentioned this in the presentation, the Water Board TMDL has these sort of allowable exceedances, and those are based on a reference watershed. So they find a watershed. Our reference watershed is one in Southern California. It's approximately the same size. And they measure water quality there, bacteria there, and then they say, okay, well, it exceeded this regulatory threshold this percentage of times. And that's how that sort of allowable exceedances is determined. But there might be some value in exploring further, similar to the question related to what if these other wildlife species are cross-reacting? It is possible that we have a higher percentage of wildlife input in our watershed than there was in our reference watershed. So that's something that that we're at least thinking about as we explore this.
There isn't a known cross-reactivity for human right now, so I just want to point that out. And the other thing that I just wanted to, I'm not sure if this is entirely clear what we're saying, but the water board that is regulating the city with the TMDL is not regulating for an estimated amount that they consider uncontrollable. So if there was a certain amount from birds or what have you, the city is not being held accountable to control those things that are already included in some of their estimates.
We will be testing for birds and deer.
Great.
So next year, maybe we'll have an answer on that. But like the folks from RCD said, those are not controllable sources, and they're also not human. So the real problem to address first is how much of this is human.
Thank you. That's the answer. Okay. That's all. I had a couple. So for Kellex and Clifton, so you talked, and for Public Works Director Sun also, you both talked about the Crespi Canal, the COSD site, and mentioned that you're applying for grants with the city. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing there, what you think the problems might be.
Yeah, that, what we wonder is, because we see such chronic inputs there, and we see, what's happening in the main stem of the creek right downstream of it, that, that canal has a lot of concrete. It's not a permeable surface. And if there were an opportunity to work along that whole length and turn it into something that had natural filtration, we think that there's a possibility that that could reduce the bacteria that's going into the main stem of the creek. And we had applied for a grant, I think it was NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Coastal Resilience Grant. We'd also applied for some funding because we also think it's an equity-related issue. This beach has, a lot. This is an accessible and affordable beach for a lot of people from around the area, a lot of people impacted by this. So we also see this as an equity and justice-related issue, and we tried to get some funding through that lens. And then I think we also, if I remember correctly, tried to get this included in some other sort of broader county and regional planning documents where there's larger collaborations of stormwater and jurisdictional entities that are creating broader planning documents for things that then could be potentially eligible for future funding for sort of regional priorities. So trying to make sure that this is included in those kinds of priority setting efforts that might result in funding.
Okay, that sounds really great. Thank you. Yeah. And so your testing was all in the creek, if I remember correctly. I know Surfrider and other groups test at the ocean itself. That's right. And I know, John, you said yours was just at the mouth of the creek before it hit the ocean. The question I'm leading up to is,
Yes.
is there other testing besides the creek, thinking of our pump stations and so forth, that also have outfalls to the ocean that might also help address the problem?
Well, the Lindemar pump station has an outfall to the ocean, and that is tested by the San Mateo County Department of Health every week. And so that's the one that I was referring to. It was one of those columns of data on our data sheet that very, very seldom shows any bacteria.
Okay.
But every now and then, it shows a lot. So it's kind of like one of those sporadic hits that we see, up and down the creek during the dry season. But that sampling point is more or less the basis for us saying that north of that, so maybe at Taco Bell north, is a safe place to surf. Okay? So, what we're trying to do is say, okay, Lindemar is always on the list of polluted beaches, but the entire beach isn't polluted. The pollution is restricted mostly to the area right around San Pedro Creek. And as far as other outfalls, the county samples in other places, and I'm sure Lewis can tell you exactly where they sample, but I don't know if they sample around other outfalls in Pacifica.
Okay. Feel free to speak to that.
For the first flush program, we do sample outfalls up and down the coast. I think the Lindemar site is our primary Pacifica location, but there is a lot of value regionally to be able to look at what how the different outfalls perform, I guess is one way to say it, with their pollution testing during the first flush event. So that testing, I think we have about 18 sites, is all the way from Lindemar Beach in the north to southern Half Moon Bay in the south. So that provides a nice comparable or way of comparing this community to other communities. And that program actually is in partnership with the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary. And so we can actually compare our coastal outfalls to the coastal outfalls of the Monterey area as well. So we have some regional context on that.
Okay, okay.
Oh, yes. And the sampling locations that John was talking about are consistent with ours as well. So we're trying to find ways to make our data consistent and work together to answer these questions for the community.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing to help make our beaches healthier for people and also for our steelhead trout. And I've had a few chats with John Keener. There's I forgot her name. The trout. Stella the trout. Stella the steelhead. And the steelhead is now will be the new animal of the Pacific Beach Coalition. So we'll be learning a lot more about the steelhead in the years to come. But there are other contaminants that affect the steelhead, like tire dust and so forth, that I know you're hoping to start testing for. Anyway, thank you all very much, and we appreciate continuing the conversations and the research moving forward. So I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break so we can shuffle our dais and speak with Geneva before she sneaks out, hopefully.
For ably moving things forward, and to Councilmember Beer and Mayor Pro Tem Bowles for the great job with the proclamations. All right, so we are at the consent calendar. I believe there may be, City Manager, you had something you wanted to give us first?
Recording in progress.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Beckmeyer, Kevin Woodhouse, City Manager. I wanted to note for the consent calendar for item 2 regarding the Calera Creek sewer emergency, there's a typographical correction in the resolution. So I'll read that into the record, and then when council's ready to adopt consent, you can include with the change noted by the City Manager. So in the first whereas on packet page 38, it says currently, whereas on August 20th, 2025, the City Manager in his capacity as Director of Emergency Services proclaimed the existence of local emergency in the City of Pacifica after determining that, and it says, the damaged condition of the 12-inch sewer main at 700 Palmetto Avenue, that should be struck and replaced with, after determining that the 6-inch sewer main crossing Calera Creek near the intersection of Oneonta Avenue and Minerva Avenue, and then no changes to the rest of that whereas.
Okay, can you repeat that one more time? The 6-inch sewer main?
So it will say, after determining that the 6-inch sewer main crossing Calera Creek near the intersection of Oneonta Avenue and Minerva Avenue. The other was just a legacy left over from a previous version of this resolution.
And when it comes to the motion, whoever is making the motion can just refer to the changes to this resolution as reflected, to item number 2 as reflected by the City Manager.
Very good, thank you. All right, council members. Do any council members wish to pull an item from consent?
I'd like to pull item 10.
Item 10. All right. So we'll go ahead to public comment on the consent agenda except item 10. Remind me what item 10 is, please.
It's the $20 million loan for the sewer.
Okay. So we will take public comment. If there is any, I have one card. Oh, no, but that's on item 10, I think. Is that item 10?
No.
Oh, no.
No, this is about item 6.
Okay, item 6, Patrick Kavanaugh. Welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Patrick James Kavanaugh. I'm the new director over at Pacific Beach Coalition. Really happy to be here. I wanted to thank the Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and all of our esteemed council for hosting the RCD tonight, and our friends at the Lindemar Water Quality Coalition. Today's special presentation was as enlightening as it was scary, I think, right? You know, when we're looking at science-based methodology to better characterize these known issues in our local watershed, I think specifically in San Pedro Creek and its outflow into our, I forget the word they use for our dirty beach. It's, you know, it's important to remember that, you know, while the old adage applies, you can't manage what you cannot measure, at the same time, we also have to consider action without hesitation. And that means we need to get started with mitigation and remediation. Local community-based organizations, neighbors, and friends alike must support the city's needs in resolving these issues as much as possible now, more than ever. To that end, Pacific Beach Coalition's 27 years of boots-on-the-ground stewardship should serve as both an example and an inspiration, with beach cleanups and habitat restoration work serving as foundational to our mission of education, engagement, and positive action. The co-benefits of that impact, including restoring a healthy ecosystem along with our relationship to nature and the benefits of clean water and pristine beaches, are paramount and invaluable. Thus, I would urge the council to not only pass proposed amendment number 5, action item 6 on your agenda, but also look to augment, catalyze, and sustain the nature and community-based solutions that are already available without delay, including the great work of the RCD, the Department of Public Works mentioned earlier, and PBC alike. Thank you for your support. Let's get started, and really, let's keep it going. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't see any other cards for anyone in the room. Emily, is there anyone on the phone? No? All right, seeing the chief approaching, I will pause. No. Okay, thank you very much. Close public comment. Bring it back to council for a motion or any clarifying questions on any of the items, not including item 10.
Yeah, I had a quick question on item 7.
Quick question on item 7.
Uh-huh. Okay, this is just general public comment. So I appreciate staff answering some of the questions ahead of time about the improvements to the coastal trail at Taco Bell. And there was extensive public comment with documentation and photos from community member Cherie Chan, who is also serving on the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation, and particularly looking at the bike ped coordination. And so I understand that, and the Planning Commission had been asking for the 2 sections of the trail on the north and south end of Taco Bell to be paved. And the documents show that Taco Bell paved the south end 5 feet wide, and then the city, as part of a change order to this, paved the other side 5 feet wide. But I believe the bike ped improvements in this trail call for a wider path. When you have those shared uses, I can't remember offhand if it was 8 to 10 feet. So I'm just curious how that work transpires if we're coordinating across documents, you know, to make sure that we're doing our bike ped improvements as we're doing this work.
Good evening, Roland Yip, Deputy Director of Public Works / City Engineer. So we did review the request even before we had installed some of these new ADA paths from our own project. The documents that were referenced, I I'm looking at it with our director, planning director, up the graph right now, and I can't seem to find that requirement from our own planning documents. The requirements that I do see it coming from is from AASHTO and from the HDM. So the reason why we did not install a 10-foot wide path here is because in the end, it doesn't lead to a 10-foot wide path on the private property of Taco Bell. The sections that we added and the sections that Taco Bell had added on the southern side is a small portion. In order to have a bike path for 2 lanes of bikes, if that's 10-foot wide, the improvements need to come onto the private property on Taco Bell. Now, this discussion was discussed a lot with our previous planning director, Murdoch, during this the Taco Bell's project when they came in. There was no nexus to require them to do this on their property as well as outside of their property. Now, Taco Bell came in with their project, and they did do it on the southern end. We came in and did it on the northern end, but it wouldn't have led anywhere for our project or for Taco Bell on the southern end to do a 10-foot wide path, because on site it just is not a 10-foot wide path. Now, can we add a 10-foot wide path? Yes, it would lead to landscaping and to parking spaces. So that's the reason why we chose not to do that at this time, because it needs to be part of a bigger nexus when Taco Bell is required to do a 10-foot wide path on their own property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, I move we approve the consent calendar minus number 10.
Correct. And
And with the amendments.
with the
Oh, and with the amendment
to number 2.
to number 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion made by Councilmember Beer and seconded by Councilmember Wright. The motion passes unanimously.
All right. Now we will take up item 10. Do we want to hear from staff first, or do you have questions? Christine, how do you want to proceed?
I think it might be good for staff to just tell the public what the item is about.
Thank you. Yes, and I'll turn it over to Deputy Director Sun. And staff doesn't have a presentation prepared, so we can summarize what this item is about, and then happy to respond to any questions.
Okay. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. Lewis, I'm Deputy Director of Public Works, Wastewater. So item 10 is a application for a federal loan, short called WIFIA. And this loan is going to be used to fund some of our major wastewater infrastructure projects, such as the upcoming Valley Mart and Rockaway sewer rehabilitation project. And so this federal loan is something that the staff have conducted a study back in 2022, identify the strategy to help the city and to find money and to fund these large infrastructure projects. And the city is also working on the next sewer rate study, and this will be done in conjunction with this particular loan, and to figure out the payment process and to help with the ratepayer to ease with the rate itself in the next 5 years.
Okay, thank you. I had asked a number of questions, in writing ahead of time that weren't answered, and I understand staff was planning to come back later to answer some of those. What we're approving today, from what I understand, is approving filing an application for the loan, but the actual approval of actually securing the funds through the loan would come later. Is that true, and come back to council?
Yes, that is true, Mayor Pro Tem. Today it's just proving the application, which has a fee of up to $250,000. But the actual application and the approval will come back to City Council for review and for approval at that time.
Okay. So, no, we're not deliberating yet, right? That's after public comment. So at this point, we don't know what the actual fee might be. I was hinted that it might be less than $250,000. We don't know what the interest rate might be on the loan. We haven't seen some of the documents that were part of the loan application, such as our bond rating or the flow of funds that would show how we would pay for that loan. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. At this time, we do not have that information, and once the application is submitted, then we can work with the WIFIA program manager to start working towards finding the details to the loan information.
Okay. Those are my questions outside of public comment.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment on item 10. I don't have any cards. If there are any people who wish to speak on this, please come forward. Seeing none, and seeing that there are none on the phone calling in, we'll go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to council for discussion and deliberation.
So just a couple of other questions. Obviously, up to $250,000 is a lot of money for our budget with our...
Mayor Beckmeyer, just to interrupt, there is a hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For this item on the Zoom.
Reopening public comment to listen to the caller.
Kimberly
Assistant
Finale.
Okay, great. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Beckmeyer. Kimberly Finale, Pacifica resident. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I guess my question on this item number, and thank you for pulling it, Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, would be and I apologize, I didn't read the staff report. So if the scope of the work that the application is being requested for the approval of funds for, it would be helpful to just hear a brief summary of the scope of work, to the, what areas of Pacifica for sewer upgrades, and, just something brief for the public to be able to understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further?
There are no other raised hands.
All right, we'll close public comment and bring it back. So, hello, Daniel.
Oh.
Please go ahead.
Mayor Beckmeyer, Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, members of the council, to answer the caller's question, this is for the Valimar and Rockaway Beach Boulevard project. So this project would include replacement of all the sewer mains in the Valimar and Rockaway Beach Boulevard neighborhoods. This would all be east of the highway. Should be noted that design was approved for this project and is ongoing in August, say 24th of last year. Don't quote me on that. And we are, it's currently proceeding. So this project has been identified in previous sewer master plans as a critical part of our collection system. It's one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city that hasn't had a large-scale improvements project in decades. So it's important for the collection system, important for the wastewater division in preventing sanitary sewer spills and the maintenance resources, as well as preventing sanitary sewer spills from entering the Calera Creek watershed.
Thank you.
And if I could just add to that, having just come off the special presentation about TMDL and San Pedro Creek, this is in a different neighborhood, but as a whole, the city's wastewater system is one of the biggest environmental protection systems in the city and is really critical and important time-wise and urgent to fund these projects and proceed with them for replacements. And as you are aware, in speaking about sewer laterals, when we do these large projects, we also implement and promote very heavily our sewer lateral grant program, which is an incentive for homeowners to replace their sewer laterals. So I just wanted to add the element of urgency and importance environmentally that these types of major infrastructure and very expensive infrastructure projects have in the city. Thank you.
And my understanding is that the main source of funds to pay back the loans is wastewater rate collections. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is correct. And we may get to that, or it may be a question, but one of the advantages of the WIFIA loan is payment can be pushed back for a number of years, which aligns with some debt retirement that we have in the wastewater enterprise fund, so as to smooth rates over time and help manage, rate fluctuations to the ratepayers.
And Mayor Pro Tem Bowles' question about the cash flow and the payment flow, all of that information would be presented to the council after the application process. Tonight's agenda item is to give authority to start the application. When it comes time to take out the loan, we'll know exactly the rate, interest rate, the amount, and what is the payment process. Is that correct? Understood. Okay. Oh, Christine.
Yeah. So my concern is that the loan fee is not refundable. So it could come back to us and we, have some issues with the rate or the terms or something. And so up to $250,000 isn't refundable. And so for me, I would really prefer to see some of that information up front. Yes, it's paid through a sewer fund, but that's obviously passed on to all Pacificans who pay for sewer, which is everyone. So I guess my question is, could those answers, what the interest rate is, what this flow of funds diagram, is this something that could be presented at the next council meeting and we just delay this decision for a little bit, or is this really something that would take a long time to prepare?
I'll take a stab and then and turn it over to Director Sun if he wants to add. And I actually have the question. I'm wondering if one of our consultants is on Zoom and might be able to, or here in person, I'm not sure which, but might be able to weigh in as well. So in terms of interest rates, like when you're getting a loan for your house, you're not going to know until you actually are at that last minute. So we know what they are today.
But what are they today? I wasn't even told that.
I don't know what they are today, but we know what they are today, but several months or 6 months from now, they might be different. So that affects, what your debt is going to be. That's one variable. And I'll turn it over to Director Sun to add anything else.
City Manager Woodhouse is correct. And we do have a consultant with LSCE, and his name is Jacques Debrat. He is online today to help answer any questions. So if I may, I request City Clerk to bring Mr. Debrat and help answer this question.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Pleasure to be here. This is Jacques Debray with LSCE, working with the city team on getting some of these large wastewater projects implemented. And I think some of the questions about WIFIA are really good. WIFIA's interest rate as a funding program is tied to the 30-year Treasury, and while you guys were on break, I was actually checking the rates, and they're just a hair over 4.9%. And so that's a pretty nice interest rate in today's current environment. And so hopefully, I think that's one question that's come up. I guess if you guys don't mind, I'll just share a little bit more about how the interest rate works with WIFIA. So I think what city staff is trying to do, since WIFIA has been identified as a very attractive funding program for the city's wastewater program, is to get the application submitted. And we have a high confidence interval based on the nature of the project, and we work with WIFIA on a regular basis. And our project is going to be funded. The only way you're not going to get WIFIA funding is if the city decides at some point, which you have the prerogative to do, is to not accept the loan. Now, once the application is approved, then there's a period between when the loan application is approved and when the loan agreement would be executed. And the interest rate will continue to fluctuate on what your loan would be until the date that we execute the loan agreement. So one advantage to submitting the loan application now is that the sooner the city's in a position to lock in an interest rate, which, by the way, is tied to the 30-year Treasury. So you guys know that's a very dynamic interest rate, relatively low in general. But with a little bit of timing, we could get quite an attractive rate depending on where interest rates go in the coming period. So the advantage of moving forward with the loan application for the city council tonight is you kind of buy yourself flexibility to be in a position to take advantage of interest rates should they move in your favor. Over the last 8 months, WIFIA rates have fluctuated between 4.4%. I think they peaked at 5.1 or 5.2, and recently they've been bumping around 4.9%. So I hope that wasn't too much, but I felt like I would try and fill in some of the questions you had on the WIFIA funding item.
Thank you. Questions?
And so, I'm hearing that federal interest rates might go down, but not this year. So do we have flexibility in terms of when we sign to perhaps take advantage of some lower rates?
The answer is yes, but your flexibility begins once your funding application is approved. We can come back to City Council, go over the funding agreement with you, involve, of course, legal counsel and the city manager, and make sure the final agreement is suitable. And I've worked with another district in the Bay Area that did just what you're talking about. They got everything ready, put a bow on it, and then watched interest rates. So WIFIA is very cooperative. They'll help you close the loan in your favor. And the other thing I want to mention with WIFIA is, let's say, for the sake of this discussion, in January of 26, we execute the loan agreement with WIFIA. If interest rates drop within the first 6 months of when you execute, they will automatically lower your rate to whatever that lowest point is. So that's a nice feature that WIFIA has that I don't think any of the other funding programs have. So that's another bit of flexibility, even beyond the time that the city chooses to execute the loan agreement and lock in the interest rate. You'll still have another shot at a lower rate.
Thank you very much, Zach. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I have a question. Is that going to be a fix or variable?
It's a fixed rate. We would not lead you into the variable environment just for financial stability's sake. So it's fixed all the way.
Okay, thank you.
And if for some reason interest rates really go back down again, let's say in 10 years, is this something that we can refinance, pay off, and find another source?
You can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
So that means no prepayment penalties?
I believe once you get that far into the loan, there's no prepayment on it.
Well,
No
you need to
prepayment
know
penalty.
that in the beginning. So if it's penalty or not, you're gonna know that right from the beginning.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think the point is sometimes if you're later in the payment cycle of the loan, like the first year or second year of the loan, but like 10 years, 20 years into it, not so much.
But if you don't have a prepayment penalty, you can refi at any time.
Right. So when we have the financial presentation, will that information be included?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your jumping on to answer our questions. I would like to say one thing about this. Oh, good. But you go first. No, you. Okay.
Thank you so much for getting all of this together and getting things started, especially in Ballymar and Rockaway. I know it's been many years since we have met with the community members, especially in Rockaway Beach, who are super concerned about the drainage coming down from the springs and all the things that are going on in Rockaway Beach. So any movement in this area is positive movement. And I have full trust in staff that what you're bringing us is the best possible thing that you can bring us, and I'm really grateful. So thank you so much.
And that was generally what I wanted to say as well. I think you and I have been anxiously awaiting this coming forward on the CIP with the stormwater sewer master plan. I think we would have wanted it 4 years ago or something if possible, but it wasn't on the plan for 4 years ago. So very excited to hear that this is moving forward, and doing our fiscal prudence, I think is very important, and we need to also move forward. And so with that, I would like to move that approval of item 10.
A second.
Please vote. Did you get that, Sarah?
With item number 10 moved for approval by Mayor Beckmeyer and seconded by Councilmember Beer, the vote passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. That brings us to public comments for items not on the posted agenda. And I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Bowles did a much better job of making sure a statement is stated, because I've already not done it twice. So let me catch up a little and say that public meetings are a limited public forum, meaning that there are rules for commenting at these meetings. Comments on non-agendized items must address matters within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city, and comments on agendized items must relate to that specific item. If comments do not fall into one of these categories, the city will provide you with an initial warning to stay within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city or on topic. If the warning is not followed, I will direct the city clerk to cut the microphone, and throughout this warning system, I will seek the assistance of the city attorney in identifying comments not related to the agenda item or not within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. And with that, I would like to let everyone know that I have 12, 13, 14 cards. And I'm going to start with, it'll be a 3-minute comment. I'll start with Julie Pofsky, Anita Reese, and Cindy Abbott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Julie Pofsky, and I'm the Director of Development at Breast Cancer Prevention Partners, or BCPP, a national organization working to eliminate toxic chemicals and other preventable environmental causes of breast cancer. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S. in her lifetime, yet 90% of those cases are not linked to family history or genetics alone. A growing body of evidence is suggesting that toxic chemicals and products that we use in and on our bodies every day and in our environment are directly linked to increased rates of breast cancer. That's why our organization, BCPP, exists, and that's why prevention, our message around prevention, is so crucial. We are thrilled as an organization to return to Pacifica for a 3rd year in a row for our signature Hike for Prevention on Saturday, October 4th at San Pedro Valley Park. After hosting this event in Marin County for 27 years, we chose Pacifica because of its ideal location, its beautifully maintained trail system, and of course, its breathtaking coastal views that make this hike so stunning and so special for our participants. This year, we expect roughly 200 to 250 hikers to join us. The hike for Prevention is more than just a walk in nature. It's a day of community and purpose, a day of gathering that will also include lunch, educational programs, and prevention-focused expo. It's also part of our National Hike for Prevention series, where people around the country will choose trails in their local communities and also join on that same day. We would love to see more Pacifica residents and town council members involved. Please join us. Come out as individuals. You can start a team with friends, families, and colleagues. It's a powerful way to come together and show your dedication to prevention and healthy living in October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're also seeking local businesses as sponsors to help us promote the event and underwrite various parts of the day, including our family-friendly program activities and lunch. Thank you so much for allowing us to call Pacifica our home for this event, and we look forward to celebrating the mission and cause with you here again in October. My card is attached to the flyers, which you have. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions that you may have or ideas for making this year's hike the best yet. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, Anita Reese, and then Cindy Abbott, and then Suzanne Moore.
Hello, Anita Reese with the Pacifica Resource Center. I just wanted to share that we continue to be open Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, 9 to 5, and Wednesdays, 9 to 7, and Friday, 9 to 1. And the first Saturday, generally one Saturday a month from 9 to 1. It is usually the second Saturday of the month. We are likely to skip September because we have a lot of other things like Fog Fest and our Palmapalooza event, and we'll be back open on a Saturday, second Saturday of the month in October. Our UC outreach, our Unhoused on the Coast outreach team will respond to outreach requests within 3 hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday, Sundays, and holidays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you see someone living outside or in a vehicle, please email ucOutreach@pacresourcecenter.org or call our outreach line at 650-452-6279. Our temporary safe parking program, which we call PSPP, Pacifica Safe Parking Program, has 10 RV sites in the SFRV Resort that are full and 3 on Oceana and Milagro. We have 6 folks on the wait list. We are looking to enroll 2 more folks into the spaces on Oceana or Milagro. And while we get folks into those 2 additional spaces, I did want to share that those open spaces are available to community members who would like to temporarily park their space, park an RV or an oversized vehicle in that space, but it is for 3-day periods, right? That is one of the things that we have to offer. We want all the spaces to be used, but we also need flexibility so that as soon as a person is available, someone who's living in their oversized vehicle can get in immediately. So just wanted to make some clarification about that. Our next grocery distribution is this coming Wednesday, August 27th at the American Legion Hall, which is 555 Buell. If you need groceries and aren't already enrolled, please arrive at the American Legion Hall around 4:30 and we'll be able to serve you and connect you with future resources. I also wanted to share that our back to school program, thanks to the community, we were able to serve 216 students, which is 16 over what we were planning of the 200, and those students came from 133 families in Pacifica. We provided backpacks and Target gift cards so they could purchase their school supplies. And then, as I mentioned, that our annual Palmapalooza fundraiser is on September 13th at the Farallon Room at Skyline. Our theme this year is Mardi Gras. We are sold out, but please reach out and you can join our wait list. And so please contact PRC for more information about anything I've shared. Our number is 650-738-7470 or email info@pacresourcecenter.org. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, Cindy Abbott. All those great things the Resource Center does for our community. So awesome. So, Cindy Abbott, and here as Executive Director of Sanchez Art Center. And I've had such a fun, tiring, but fun 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, when we hosted over 50 artists from California. They came from as far south as Orange County, as far east as Sacramento, and all the way up to Healdsburg to install the 50 small 6x6-inch works that they created over this summer. So yes, it's our favorite time of year, the opening of the 50/50 show. And the show opens on Friday and Saturday, September 5th and 6th. It is a ticketed event, one of the very few times that we charge. And the funds raised during the opening supports our ongoing free exhibition program, where we bring over 17 free exhibitions to the community each year. So if you're looking for tickets, they're on Eventbrite. The first slot on Friday night is already sold out, but we've got 3 other times, one on Friday and 2 on Saturday, that are still available. The show opens to the public on Sunday, September 7th. Gallery hours are 1 to 5 p.m. And if you want to bring a group or come on your own during the week, we always like to open up to you. You just need to reach out to us and let us know if you want to visit outside of the gallery hours. It's a really exciting show this year. Things from metal to ceramics, incredible work, and I hope that you'll all come by and see it. The 50/50 show is one of the many ways that Sanchez Art Center brings not only visibility, but visitors to the city of Pacifica. Look forward to welcoming over 1,200 of them for the show. See you soon.
Thank you. Okay, Suzanne Moore, Steve Franco, Margaret Tassi.
Honorable City Council and staff, Suzanne Moore from the Manor, speaking my own thoughts this evening. Thank you for encouraging more time, thought, and data gathering in anticipation of future parking amendments. It's important to be informed about community concerns and update surveys on Pacificans living in motorhomes. We can then better understand our options. When listening to the community, I hear 3 specific concerns. I want to pose possible mitigations for each. First, folks are afraid of who's in the vehicles. Our homeless outreach team introduces themselves and their services. Could that team supply a windshield card that shows that vehicle residents are now known to the PRC? Illegal dumping. The PRC has free service for licensed drivers who bring their vehicles to a site. If the PRC reinstitutes the service that comes directly to a vehicle and then further reduces dumping, wouldn't that be a preference? And 3, parking on neighborhood streets. To take pressure off neighborhood streets, could there be assigned lots for overnight parking? In addition to relieving pressure from neighborhoods, these sites could provide info on services and give overnight respite and safety. Let's take a moment to think about what we do know. We're seeing more financial instability. The PRC has seen an increase of approximately 23% of services since 2024. More Pacificans are at risk. Federal funding is being reduced to food banks, homeless services, housing, and health care. Studies on homelessness provide direction on successful solutions and warn of unintended consequences of ticketing, towing, displacement, and reduction of services. Ticketing can increase already challenged financial situations. Towing can take away protection from the environment, cause loss of precious and life-sustaining belongings, including personal ID, interfere with established community support, and contribute to further trauma. Some communities made the mistake of creating for-profit systems for towing that led to abuse. Displacement from a familiar site can lead to stress of relocation and competition for a place of safety, and a move can interrupt established connections to case management, healthcare, church, and meaningful relationships. If we don't take these potential consequences into consideration, we may be doing a disservice to our community. If we don't prioritize laws that are equitable and fair, we are doing a disservice to our community. If we choose laws that complicate true solution building, we do a community a disservice. There's a fine line between incomplete information that might create fear and bias and data that promotes knowledge and real solution building. I look forward to updated survey information from the PRC, and I hope we can adopt ways to move forward with solutions for our unhoused. Pacifica can't solve this alone, and I appreciate the need for cooperation with our county and state leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Franco?
Good evening, Council. My name is Steve. I've been a resident on Paloma Avenue for 40 years. The RV issue up on our street, I've asked the people that were there nicely, very nicely, a couple of times, could you please move? They just shake their head and say no. They're unsanitary, unsightly, and they know they don't have to move. Where are they dumping? That's a big issue. I had an RV, so I know there's 3 tanks on RVs, and I never once saw, pardon me, a pooper pumper truck going up the street to empty these RVs. So as we saw the people getting shuffled in and out of these every couple of days, where are they dumping? I have no idea. I did see some stuff in the street. We're advocating to take Paloma Avenue off of the list. I have yet to see an advocate or an RV person parked on our street or any street in Pacifica here. I've never seen one and come up here and say, we'd like to stay here because we think we deserve it. Maybe you've heard it, I have not, and I'm sure all my neighbors would agree with me. It's not right. There is something you can do as our council, not only our street, but any street in Pacifica. They're unsightly and they don't want help because they don't want the housing because they know there's rules that are going to apply if you get them off the street into these housing issues, and then what are they going to do in that housing? They're run businesses out of these things, they're renting them out. So it's up to you guys, I think, to really put the screws to these people. It's getting worse. I see 2 or 3, 4 RVs coming up our street every day. Thank you, neighbors, for parking on the other side of the street. We got the high school, the little kid nursery up the top, and we got Ingrid B. Lacey, down the street and around the corner. This is going to get worse before it gets better if you don't act and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Margaret Tassi, Tom Olson, and Joyce Toomey.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for...
Margaret, can you come a little closer to the mic?
Yes, is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk tonight. I, too, am a resident living on Paloma. I've been there 27 years. I also have a business in town. I've been in business running a clay studio for 26 years. I have a lot of compassion for people that have hardship. I've spent a lot of energy putting outreach programs together and using my studio as a place for people to have fun, a creative outlet. If it's not just kids, I've had adults too. So I'm not coming here tonight on a debate about houseless people. It's more about the issue that we have on Paloma. Living across the street back in May, when a handful of RVs came, I was shocked and surprised to see the impact that it had on our street. My concern is really about the children. I mean, it gave me a lot of anxiety. We have one sidewalk in our whole neighborhood, and that's the sidewalk right there. So the kids are running down the street for PE right next to them with the RV doors are open. We have all the little kids walking up to the upper field for soccer practice. We have kids riding bikes in the street or on the sidewalk. It's stressful. My feeling around people living, if it's temporarily, whatever the situation is, I feel that there is an unknown risk. We don't know. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their backgrounds are. There's a lot of kind people out there. I know that. But there's also people that have mental illness, substance abuse. Why are they at a school site? That's my concern. it shouldn't be there. And I hope that you guys really listen to us because God forbid something happened to a kid and all of us are going to think about it because we've talked about it so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Olson and Joyce Toomey.
Thank you. My name's Tom Olson. I'm also live on Paloma, lived there for 30 years. It just doesn't seem right to me to have campers living on our street. I also am hoping that you guys can take Paloma off the list for RVs. If there was a spot where they could all accumulate, you could have bathrooms and all that, that seems to me a better way than just allowing them in a residential neighborhood. I also agreed with Steve that we don't know where their dirty water is going or their very dirty water or their garbage. I also am somebody who walks every day down the one sidewalk that we have in our neighborhood. I worry that people are opening doors into you or who the people in these RVs are. So, I don't know. I also, as Margaret said, I worry about the kids that are going back and forth. There's one lady I see that brings her little child in a stroller up to the nursery school every day. And I worry about her. And the kids, like they were saying, jogging along. We're all paying for our services, and these people are not paying for their services. To me, they're camping, and I would hope that you can help them however you do it, but I sure would like Paloma to not have these oversized vehicles parking there all the time. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Joyce Toomey, Connie Campbell, and Sean Stack.
Hi, you guys again. I'm part of this wonderful community back here. Everybody, we've been fighting this one thing, but I'm here about something else. I'm here about trying to get an ordinance for no camping out of cars, vans, and obviously RVs, because we've already lost control over the RVs. They're here. I mean, they're getting worse since San Francisco closed down. We never seen RVs driving up and down the street at a regular pace. We've never even seen them, period. But now we're getting we have cars that are sleeping in their cars or the vans, and it's before this gets out of hand, we need an ordinance that doesn't allow tent camping out of cars or on the ground, because then we're going to have that on top of all the RVs we already have. And the RVs that are going through the program are great. They're all civilized people. But the people that are coming in from out of town that are just going, whoa, Pacifica's taking everybody. They give us stuff. Let's go on down. They're pigs. They're irrespectable. They're I don't know. I have no word for them other than they're pigs. And they have no respect for the neighborhood that they crash into. And they not only just stay in their RV, they put out furniture along the thing. They just create a community. And it's like impossible for our officers to keep on top of them all because they're just flooding in. So, and on top of that, I might add that the topic of the water waste and the human waste, it might not be so much increased from the leakage of the sewer laterals. It might be increased from the people that are pooping on the streets, because we see it all the time. I have photos of it, and everything that we talk about, whether they're harassing us or building up their own little rooms on the side of the thing, we have pictures of everything we're complaining of and videos. So, before we get out of control with tent camping, please, let's get an ordinance going for that, because we'll be doubling down on just, our city's beautiful, and you're wrecking it. Not you, it's getting wrecked. It's just getting wrecked. And we love it here. We love this city. So please, love it with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Campbell and Sean Stack,
I'll be right there.
and then Paul Lavarini.
We have to get this thing. Hi, I'm Connie Campbell. I live on Paloma, also across the street from the outfield of the old baseball diamond. And I moved here in '86, so it's been about 40 years also. So, and I'm also concerned about the of getting Paloma off the list of streets that. This weekend I went up to Petaluma to see some friends, and between Petaluma, Novato, and Petaluma, there's a body of water, and along the body of water are a whole bunch of RVs parked there. And my friend said that she learned to drive on that street because there's no sidewalks, there's no foot traffic. It's just a street, a road that has water on one side and no houses or anything on the other side. So it's kind of a safe place, all the reasons that seemed appropriate to me are the same reasons that Paloma doesn't seem appropriate. That we have a lot of foot traffic, and slow people and runners and babies and strollers, and it's really it's very multi-use sidewalk, So there are a lot of people, a lot of foot traffic, and I know that in Pacifica there's some places that are much more appropriate, that have less foot traffic, than have that don't have sidewalks and don't have a lot of pedestrians and stuff like that. And I know that there's a bunch of streets, and because I drive around and look, and there's streets that have that are really peaceful and quiet, but no high school kids and no old ladies like me trying to cross the street. So I hope that we can get our street off the thing, because it's a very busy thoroughfare, and there's a lot of kids and a lot of dogs and a lot of strollers and things like that. And so there's more appropriate streets, like I think by the archery range and even Roberts Road, there's no people going up there. Hello. Okay, that's all.
You have
That's
a minute.
all I have to say.
You still have a minute. That's just a
Oh,
warning.
yeah, no. Well, I might, oh, well. Anyway, that's all. I don't have anything more to say, except I hope that you can see fit to get that street off. And there are appropriate streets, and I'm really glad that there are, and I hope that those streets can be used, Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sean Stack, Paul Lavarini, Joseph Torigino.
Hello, City Council members. My name is Sean Stack. I'm lucky enough to say I'm a longtime resident here in Pacifica. Today, walking in, there's some wonderful things being talked about that I care about: bicycles and cleaning up the community. I'm part of a wonderful nonprofit here in Pacifica called the Pacifica Bike Park, and we've been working extremely hard to finish this project. March 28th, 2022, there was a vote here that was overwhelming approval to pass this project. And since then, we've been working extremely hard, like I said, to complete this project. A lot of things have been blocking us, just life and other things. Money is a big thing, but no matter what, we're still working for it. It's all about the kids in the end. I have 2 kids myself now since this project's been started. We've been working on this since the skate park was completed, which was 20 years ago plus. So now I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old that have been dealing with me trying to make this happen. So they've been living with me, watching, excited as I am to make it complete. We've had a lot of great contributors lately that have been donating and wanting this project to be completed as much as we are. San Mateo Plumbers Union has helped out, and a lot of local contractors in town have been really helping out with some donations. We've been told that it's possible to have some dirt donated from a local contractor with equipment to help with that money situation just to lower the cost of what it would cost to make something like this happen. But I just wanted to come up and tell everyone that we're still working hard to make it happen. You can see the gear I have here. Are kind of in a rut to spend money to make money, but we're doing it to make this project happen for the community. And I appreciate your time, and I definitely hope to talk more about that with everyone. We'll be at this year's Fog Fest again, and letting people know we're still working hard. When they ask me what's going on with the project, I always say, good things take time, but great things take even longer. So we hope to complete this project soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay. Paul Lavarini, Joseph Torregino, Ivy Clark.
Hello, Mayor Beckmeyer, Pro Tem Bowles, Council, City of Pacifica staff. Thanks for having me. Mine is about Paloma also, and about getting our street off that list. It's been done before, and we have a good reason for it to be done on this one also. It's not just, well, the main reason is it is a school district. It is a school street. It is the only sidewalk. It's where all the kids use. It's where soccer matches are. We have the swim meets. We have our own kids in our neighborhoods. It's the place where everybody walks. It's wherever we meet. But since the RVs have showed up, it's been a little different. We've got the neighbors on neighbors arguing with each other, trying to block those spots because that's the only way we can do it. We have the officers that are doing the best they can to help us out with the knowledge they have, with the resources they have. So it's in our hands to kind of form a community to block these spots, and it's not working well with the community. And it's getting people looking down at the police, and we need a good relationship with them. The trust is losing the trust. You know, I was a city employee for 28 years. I worked with the Resource Center for many years. I used to go to the Fish and Bowl. I used to bring them blankets. I helped Caltrans clean up the whole areas. I worked with the RVs on Esplanade, even when they were dumping at 4 o'clock in the morning when they dig a hole in the sand. When it rains, unplug, it goes down the drains. I would put covers on the drains during the rainy season so we could slow them down and stop it. But what's happening on Paloma, it's just they're coming all through the night and they're driving up really slow, and they know that they don't have to move. So we have to complain about an RV or a car or a van. So now we have an officer comes up and then they give them a notice. So they've already been there for 2 days. Now they get a 3-day, well, I don't hate to call it a parking pass, but they get a 3-day pass, and then they move a few feet, and the neighbors are just kind of done. And I mean, I love the city, and I am all about public works and how it works, and about getting things done and solving problems. But getting Paloma off that list, you know, the RVs, the cars, the vans, they're going to come into every neighborhood. I've got one that's been there for 2 weeks right now, and they finally put a 72-hour notice on it today, and there was someone sleeping in it for 2 weeks. I just came back from vacation and found out. So it's out there. We can do something about it, but we need to keep the community strong together, and together we can solve anything. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Joseph Torregino, Ivy Clark, and the last card I have is Terry Walsh.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm a broken record. It's going to be the same thing everybody's talking about, the RVs on Palmetto. Can you guys vote on that to change a street so that the RVs can't park on that street?
We don't interact directly during public comment. Legally, we aren't having back and forth. We're listening, and we're taking notes, and then we're able to discuss with staff and respond at a future point.
Okay, because for health and safety reasons, they're dumping human waste and garbage on the street there. They dumped 3 big bags of garbage and then left. You know? So I hope you guys can work this out because it's not a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivy Clark, Terry Walsh.
Hi, my name is Ivy Clark. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. I'm a resident of Pacifica and a Skyline College paralegal graduate, and I'm author of a book that reflects my lived experience with mental health challenges, substance use, and over 10 years of chronic homelessness, including repeated cycles of incarceration, emergency services, use of shelters, and recovery programs. So my 2 cents may not go over too popularly tonight. But tonight I want to speak about our unhoused neighbors, especially the RV dwellers that people have been speaking about tonight, the Pacifica Resource Center clients, and how they are being treated. Many are being issued 72-hour parking notices that if we were all issued them as well, we might as well be getting towed because the way they are worded, if we were to go to the grocery store and come back, we could as well be towed. They are very trickily worded, and these people that are being photographed in their vehicles and made to be feel less than human. I just wanted to point out the demographics of them are being mirrored to be the same demographics as those that are housed residents. In other words, whether they are Pacificans or coming in from outside of Pacifica, they are neighbors of our community. When people are struggling, the difference of being housed or unhoused can be a matter of circumstance, not character. I know this personally. I know the dignity that I lost when people are being treated when they are being looked at as a nuisance rather than a member of humanity is something that I urge the council to approach this matter with compassion and humanity, because enforcement alone does not solve homelessness. It pushes people further into crisis. Our policies should reflect the values and dignity, inclusion, and that real solutions strengthen the entire community. And the time that we put into this could better be utilizing our strengths and teaching them better strengths to be utilized into our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Walsh is the last card I have.
Hello, Terry Walsh here. I've been a member of the part of East Shore Park for nearly 30 years now, proud member, and I have great neighbours. I have a lot of questions, I guess. First is, whose idea was it to make Paloma Avenue an ideal parking spot for RVs, given all the other options in the city? Seems nonsensical to me in the first place. And given all the things we've brought up today, like there's probably the highest density of underage individuals in that street alone in Pacifica. And yet we're going to expose them to all these elements that we don't know. By your own admission, these are transient. So I don't know how you would control all that and know who's in your neighborhood. We're all here, we're all registered, we all know who we are, but you're imposing something on us it's really not acceptable. And I'd just like to point out, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Assistant City Clerk, do we have commenters on the phone line?
Yes, we have one raised hand. It is for Kimberly Finale.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Beckmeyer, Kimberly Finale, Pacifica resident, regarding the draft 72-hour oversized vehicle parking ordinance. It is my opinion, and I know others share the opinion, that the draft parking ordinance does not go far enough. It should be no oversized vehicle parking unless you are part of the City of Pacifica's safe parking program. We should really be keeping it simple. Why complicate things with a 72-hour ordinance, especially considering the enforcement required to enable the 72-hour parking ordinance to work? It relies on community policing in comparison to community access to the coast for all. Open RV doors on Pacifica's prime real estate at Esplanade has the effect of preventing the free movement of resident and visitor foot traffic, the very type of traffic this city claims to encourage in an effort to get folks out of their cars and enjoying the great outdoors. As a prior speaker suggested, if the City of Pacifica wishes to continue assisting RV living, then perhaps the city should be providing a parking lot with lighting, bathrooms, and other resources, because as is, this is not sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other raised hands.
All right, then. I'll bring it back, close public comment and bring it back to the council. We have, I want to say one thing about our agenda. We have council communications, staff communications, and a consideration item 13 regarding city council rules and code of ethics and administrative policy changes. So I'm observing the clock at 9:10 p.m. and wondering if there's a limit we want to place, timing we want to talk about around our council communications. How do we want to handle our timing going forward for the rest of tonight?
I would like to move council communications to the end.
It was already moved.
Is it? I didn't look all the way through that part of the agenda. No.
Oh, it's not yet.
Oh, we already have 2 items. Sorry, I didn't turn the page. We have also designated voting delegate for League of California Cities. Pardon me. So there's a motion on the floor to move council communications to the end of the meeting.
A second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you.
With a motion made by Councilmember Wright to move council communications to the end of the meeting, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Bowles, passes unanimously.
And that brings us to staff communications, city manager. You can wait too?
They didn't make that motion.
We didn't make that motion, but we can.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I can provide very brief communications. One thing I wanted to mention is that at the next city council meeting, which I believe is September 8th, we do this every 6 months or 9 months periodically, but we're going to do a special presentation to introduce a lot of the new hires to the city. So those that are available will be here in person, and we'll have a special presentation that gives a bit of their background, and we've had numerous new hires, so we look forward to that. I also did want to mention, but I might be stealing the mayor's thunder, in that the mayor and I gave the State of the City presentation to the Democrats Club last Saturday, and that presentation is posted on the City Council Strategic Plan website for those that do want to find that, those members of the public that do want to find that. And I know we'll be taking that on the road, at least to the Pacifica Collaborative, and certainly willing to do it to other groups too, time dependent. And that completes my brief communications.
Thank you very much. All right, council, moving on. Consideration item number 13, amend the City Council Rules and Code of Ethics and Administrative Policy Number 1, City Council Agenda Format and Process. And we'll hear from City Manager Kevin Woodhouse on this item, and then discuss among council any questions, public comment. That's going to be our process. Please go
Yes, I have a brief verbal presentation regarding this item. In May, the City Council held a governance workshop, an all-day Saturday discussion to talk about the City Council rules and code of ethics and governance issues. And it was a very productive session facilitated by Greg Larson, who also facilitates our strategic planning workshops. And there were numerous outcomes from that day. Some of them relate to actual amendments that we need to make to the council rules and code of ethics or other related policies, but most of the outcomes were process-oriented. So the main focus of this item tonight is for the council to adopt amendments to the council rules that do officially move the city council regular meeting start time to 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m., and with the intent that that might assist us in not going so late into the evening. To formally retitle the mayor pro tem as vice mayor, which is a more common title for that position, and to officially move on a regular agenda process our council and manager communications to the end of the agenda, which we've informally been doing quite a bit lately. But those are the processes that require action tonight. And then as part of this item, the council may wish to discuss other process outcomes that have ensued. I'll highlight one of them as it relates to what we've already been implementing. Actually, it was just implemented formally on this Friday, and that in our agenda planning process, I will be meeting regularly with the mayor and vice mayor to talk about agenda planning, and through that process, identifying a couple agenda highlights that will now be highlighted and linked in a special box on the Connect with Pacifica electronic newsletter on the Friday before the city council meeting. So that was one. If you look at last Friday's Connect with Pacifica, just before the city manager's introduction, you'll see that box highlighted. It highlights several items for the agenda. So that's one process change. During discussion, council may wish to highlight other process changes. I'll also add that we did do a training on the council rules and code of ethics just a couple Fridays ago, and there'll be a part 2 of that training coming up. So the council committed at the beginning of the calendar year to really look at governance issues and training about the council rules, and this is an example of following through on all of that.
Thank you.
City Manager Woodhouse, I'd like to add also, one of the other changes that we are looking to implement in these amendments is for the requirement of a super majority vote by council, so a 4/5 vote by council, in order to approve extending the meeting beyond the 11 p.m. Ending time.
And just for the record, if the council does move forward and adopt these in this action, they will become effective immediately. So if this is approved tonight, in order to adjourn the meeting or go beyond 11 o'clock, we would need a supermajority.
That means 4 out of 5.
Yes.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the city manager? I have no cards on this item. Does anyone in the chamber wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, Assistant City Clerk, I'm asking if there are any on the phone.
There are no raised hands.
All right, then we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion and moving forward to a vote. Discuss.
Well, I just have some comments.
Comment.
I mean, I think that these changes are really important, and I really appreciated the opportunity to have the governance training in general, just to begin with, but then the conversations that followed, I think, were really important. And I think that the changes that we're making are going to be really good for us, for our mental health. Because let me tell you, those 1 a.m. meetings is so detrimental to my health. It lasts like all week. It carries over into everything I do, and I never want that to happen again. And so if we are able to work together to efficiently move our meetings forward and end at a decent time, and actually have it be part of our, code of ethics, then I think it's a win, among other things.
And I'll just add to that, I think the long meetings are also hard on staff and are also hard on the public, right? And especially when we're talking about really complex city issues late at night and people have kids they have to get to bed or whatever. And so I think the changes that we've agreed to together will really help the whole community. And there are other minor changes, as Kevin mentioned, the mayor and the vice mayor meeting with him regularly to go over the agenda, but also trying to estimate how long agenda items might need and putting kind of a time goal to that. We probably know better than staff if something might be controversial to the public and have more people coming to speak. So we don't want to eliminate that at all, right? But try to move more efficiently. And so starting earlier and implementing some of these practices, I think, should really help. And then we can keep evaluating, because this council handbook is our working document, as we've learned, right, for this council to make modifications as we need to make sure we're working well together. So I'm really excited about this coming forward today. Thank you.
Great.
Well, I apparently turn into a Groucho muffin the later it gets, and so I'm really looking forward to the earlier start time with the goal of getting to the end of the meeting sooner. And I think the process that we used for this was very functional, and I hope we continue with that kind of clear, collegial, collaborative relationship on into the future. Let's let it be the beginning of something, not the end.
I'm not used to this kind of late meetings myself, so I just came here, and it's very difficult for me because I have to work the next day, and I feel like I don't even know what day of the week is. So I think this is a great policy, and I'm happy to hear that. And, well, not only that, getting to that point. So we need to move forward to keep that timing. If we keep talking and talking, we're never going to achieve this goal. So let's be mindful, because a lot of us, Mary the other day was driving without lights. So it's because it was so late that she couldn't think of anything.
True.
So let's help each other here. Thank you.
Thanks to the Pacifica Police Department for making sure I turned my lights on.
Well, I'm pleased that we have come to this level of agreement on these items. I think it'll be really helpful to not have to explain what Mayor Pro Tem is anymore.
Yes.
For the Mayor Pro Tem. I've been at quite a few
Everybody
meetings.
thinks I'm the mayor,
where
and I
she's
always
had
have to explain.
Try to explain that, so that'll be good. But, honestly, I think we still will, to your point, Myra, we will be challenged to, each of us individually, to think about the comments that we have, the questions that we have, and how can we keep our meetings moving forward. For my part, and I won't speak for you, but I'll say I will work with you and the city manager to try to anticipate when there are items that look like they're going to be lengthy conversations. I also want to just say, I've said it many times, and I'll say it again, this council, in its iteration since 2018 and to the present, has undertaken significant work that I'm not saying all the past councils and future councils don't take on significant work, but it is a significant lift to get a general plan done 40 years out of date, a local coastal land use plan, a specific plan for an area of our town. The housing element under significant changes in state law and from the Housing and Community Development Department. All of these things cause our community, and rightly, to want to know what is going on. We need to provide the venue and the opportunity for those discussions. And so it's been some really, really, really long meetings. There's no doubt about that over the time since we've been on council. And in some ways, perhaps that becomes like, oh yeah, they're always long. Maybe not. Maybe there's a way for us to be a little more concise in our comments, like I'm going to stop talking right now because I think I've made my point. And I'm going to, if there are no further comments, I'll ask for a motion. Oh, Greg, is your light on? I don't see a light.
I like that.
I move that we adopt a resolution to amend the City Council Rules and Code of Ethics and Administrative Policy Number 1, City Council Agenda Format and Process, as recommended by the City Council at the May 17th, 2025 City Council Study Session on Governance Training.
You love to second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
With the motion made by Vice Mayor Bowles and seconded by Councilmember Wright, the vote passes unanimously.
Effective immediately.
See, that was a good one.
Nice. All right, moving on to item 14, and then we will have council communications. Item 14 is on the back of this page. It is the designation of voting delegate for League of California Cities Annual Conference. We'll need a delegate and an alternate who will be attending the League meeting in Long Beach. That particular meeting during the conference is on Friday, October 10th, and it's usually noontime or later in the day. But the conference itself is Wednesday through Friday of that week. All right. Any questions on this, council?
Mayor,
city manager?
one bit of information that I did want to add, and if you wanted to hear more about this, City Clerk Coffey could add, generally what this is about. But I did confirm with our Cal Cities staff member, Montana Cruz, that there have been no general resolutions submitted to Cal Cities by their August 9th deadline. However, there's a process where petitioned resolutions could be introduced on site during the conference. They won't know that until on site. But if no resolutions are introduced, then there won't be a General Assembly meeting and it won't occupy the delegates Friday afternoon.
Thank you for that research. Any other questions? No?
I just wanted to ask if we're all going.
Yep.
I'm going.
All council members have been registered for the annual conference.
So I need to have public comment if there's any. I have no cards on this item. Assistant City Clerk?
There are no raised hands.
All right, well, we'll close public comment, bring it back. So who wants to be the delegate and the alternate delegate?
I was thinking of Mary.
Well, you see, I've already served in that position once before, so I'd like to let a new council member maybe do that. So how about you,
No.
Myra?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to suggest Greg. I was the nominee last time, and I went, and there was an item, but there was no quorum. But it's not difficult, and it's just making a decision on the item that's brought up and being there at that time to vote while you're at the conference.
I'm happy to serve, but I would leave it up to either of you two to have first choice.
You also get a little thing for your name tag.
Oh, yeah, you get to have the thing on your name tag. That's right, for that reason alone. I love the idea of having Greg Wright represent us as our delegate. I would not be able to serve as the alternate myself because I have family plans immediately after that conference. I need to get on a plane to Sacramento in no uncertain terms. So I won't be able to stay.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm planning to do something else when I get there, so I'm sorry.
We've done it before without an alternate.
I'll be the alternate. Don't get sick.
Or grumpy. All right, with that, I move we designate Greg Wright as our voting delegate and Mary Beer as our alternate.
Second.
Motion second, please vote.
And with the motion made by Mayor Beckmeyer and seconded by Vice Mayor Bowles to appoint Councilmember Wright as the delegate and Councilmember Beer as the alternate. Passes unanimously.
Wonderful. Now we are going to undertake our council communications. I have no lights.
Well, I'd be glad to start. I did not do all 17 because the mayor sat in for me on one, so it was only 16
Oh, well.
this month. That's all I have to put out there.
Okay. Who's next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm going to be mindful next semester to try to not have a Wednesday class. I was wrong when I quoted to you, Sue. So I have
you
Wednesdays
told
and
me.
Thursday
I
classes,
know.
but I will try to be mindful about that because I know that Wednesdays, Greg has so many meetings on
Greg is in
Wednesdays.
three.
I don't even know, he doesn't have enough like arms and legs or anything. So anyway, I will try to be more mindful about that. We haven't had an opportunity to really talk about anything that we've been doing, and so I think there's just a couple little things I want to comment on. One was the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action Impact Summit, which was absolutely beautiful, so thank you so much to my other council members who were there, and the turnout from Pacifica was amazing, and you ought to hear these youth stepping up to the plate. We need them, and I wish we could have them here all the time because it was just so important for me to hear their messaging and to also carry that over into the youth work that we're doing this year through my program, my other hat. And so it was really wonderful, so thank you so much for that. The event at St. Edmunds was so lovely. It was to support the People's Labyrinth and repainting the labyrinth there in the courtyard at St. Edmunds. It was fun, and then there was so much music and things like that. They really, for me, it's really important because it fills my spirit, and our spirits can get kind of low, and so it's really great to be able to do things like that. And then the other thing I just want to talk about is the overdose awareness activities that are happening this weekend. As a brand-new member of the HOPE Board of Directors. Very happy to say that we will be having the HOPE Memorial Walk on Saturday. It's from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock. It's a pretty long event because if you can't make the first half, you will get the same information the second half of the day. So there's going to be 2 presentations about overdose awareness and Narcan, using Narcan, and one in the first part of the day and another one in the second part of the day. So it's really wonderful. There'll be personal testimonies, again, the first part of the day and the second part of the day. So if you can't come in the morning, please come in the afternoon and join us. The walk is going to be lovely. It'll go from the Moose Lodge over to the Memorial Garden and back. I know from experience, after losing a family member and then creating prevention advocacy work in Pacifica, how taxing it can be, how emotional it is, how personal it is. And so Rondell and Clarence, who lost their son Tyler, I have nothing but respect for them. Our kids are the same age. We went to school together, and we support each other. They supported our work. I am so happy to support their work. And so thank you, Hope. I appreciate you. And then we have another overdose awareness night at Muscle Rock at 6 o'clock, from 6 o'clock to sunset, which Bonnie McNamara also lost her son several years ago to a fentanyl overdose, and she has also been doing a lot of advocacy. Hers was more pointed at the medical field and the one doctor who they were successful in getting his license taken away. And so we all have our own little ways of doing advocacy, and please join the Sunset event on Sunday as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
I can go unless you want to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of hope, there's a different hope. The county organization housing our people effectively.
Thank you for attending that.
Yeah, that Mary usually attends, and I attended my first and unfortunately last meeting with that group as the discussion. So there's a few council members that serve, from the county. But then it's a lot of the homeless advocacy and groups that work on homeless services, and the meetings have just become a burden on them with all that they do. And so the vote at that meeting, and I haven't heard if the supervisors, because they're the final decision, but the decision at the meeting was to cancel the organization and the meeting. And their hope is that perhaps through the county's Home for All program that there'll be some restructuring, because I think there's still a need for council members to understand the work that is being done, right? That is not necessarily shared in some of the other meetings. So hopefully we'll get informed about that. Mayor Beckmeyer and I had a couple of great meetings with Anita and the PRC about our 72-hour parking ordinance, and I believe that's coming back to us soon in September. Oh gosh, what do I pick? Greg and I have been doing some advocacy around some of the new state laws, and we had talked a little bit here about AB 306 that was passed under budget reconciliation that blocked cities from doing new REACH codes until 2031, with some exceptions that we're still hoping to find a path around for Pacifica. But there were other changes to those laws, reducing cities' abilities to do environmental review under CEQA for projects up to 20 acres in size. Which is just crazy, because that's everything in our, more urban and suburban here communities. And so there's, anyway, I've just been having a lot of meetings with city attorney, with legislatures, with Cal City's environmental quality committee members to see if there are some possible changes that could be made. Some of the strong advocacy that's happening at the state level with some of the state senators is around protections for habitat and special species, which have been eliminated in some particular types of development. And then also allowing advanced manufacturing to not have any review, which there's no definition of that. And, this is if it's in industrial zoning, but, often industrial zones are near, communities, residential communities that people that are disaffected, and, often communities of color. And so that's just when you want those reviews. And again, CEQA is not something to stop a project. CEQA is something to review the impacts and make sure you're mitigating for them. And so, anyway, I got an exciting call from Josh Becker's office. I wrote him a letter, and Mark Berman earlier today, and Josh is actually meeting with the bill authors and also advocating to get some changes made. So anyway, we do so much here in Pacifica, but we have to pay attention to what's going on at the state, because they're really eroding away at what we can do, and especially any projects that revolve around housing. And then just on that line, the federal subsidies for solars and batteries and electric vehicles are expiring at the end of the year. The Trump administration has cut those. I've just applied for batteries for my house, trying to get them in before the end of the year, and so you can too. So encourage people, if you're considering those things, there are still 30% tax credits, and Peninsula Clean Energy and Bay Ren are good sources of information that can help you see what you can qualify for. Thank you.
And within that line, I'm going to talk about like electrification. Peninsula Clean Energy has a lot of different grants, and you can apply for different rebates. So it is important, if we want to really work on the climate change, we need to start from electrifying our homes. And in my area especially, we do need to change our panels, electrical panels, so they're not capable to do multiple electrical appliances. So I just wanted people to know that there is an opportunity to do that. And the other thing is that I can be off topic. Is that right today?
This is council communications, so you can share with us whatever you think you want us to know.
So I wanted to see if anyone can help me. I have an issue in my neighborhood. It is the lot behind Cabonash. 35, Skyline and 35, Glen Court, and that's the intersection in King Drive. The people who live on Cabonash are asking for help because that area gets flooded, their backyard gets flooded, because the water that when it rains, the channels that go, the water channels goes within that lot, and it ends at their people's backyard. The city provided me with an email, but then these people never replied back to me, so I haven't been able to get back to the neighbors, and I need help with that. So I don't know if any one of you knows Caltrain or have any relationship with anybody so that we can get to the right person and see if we can fix that. And along the way, learning about these people, I found a trail that had been forgotten. And I was able to walk through it, but I was afraid because I was like, a snake could be there. But we also need to clean that trail. It will be, I guess, we haven't been able to kind of pay attention to that part of the city. And I would like to see things like figure out what those trails are, and then make sure that people know that they're there. They can use them. I've been learning about my neighborhood more than ever before. So
yes, serving on city council does change your perspective.
Yes, true. And the other thing to end, because I'm kind of long today, is that I went to the Cultura Fest, and I really want to have, maybe not this year or next year, but I would like to have that happening here in Pacifica, and having all these different kinds of people from different places to wear their own costume and come here and wear them and listen to their music and all of that. So I was so,
Mayor Eddie Flores from South San Francisco.
From South City put that together, and that was a lot of fun. So I would like to see something like that here. And thank you so much for listening to all of this.
City Manager, regarding the questions that Councilmember
Espinoza raised. I can comment that regarding the Caltrans property, there's the property that Councilmember Espinoza mentioned, and then there's been a couple other maintenance issues related to Caltrans. So the City Public Works Department has contacted them, has opened up tickets within their maintenance division, which is the process that they prefer, And I don't think we've heard back specific responses to that yet. Caltrans operates slowly, depends on time of year and what they have on their work programs. But we have, stepped in to escalate those to the right person with Caltrans, both with the water leakage off their property behind Kavanaugh, the brush along Highway 1 from the Lindemar Beach parking lot, and there was one more that is escaping me right now. I believe it was up off of Skyline as well. There's some brush overgrowth on the street that's also Caltrans. So we've, escalated it to them, and we'll follow up and keep bothering them and hope to get some action. And over the years, we've had a great working relationship with their maintenance division, and they are responsive. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of prodding.
Okay. Through the mayor really quick, I forgot to mention the Fog Fest meeting. Oh my gosh, the Fog Fest
Go right
board,
ahead.
they're like a well-oiled machine. So I want to thank John Beckmeyer because I was so impressed. He actually did like a check-in at the meeting, which as a facilitator, I was so happy. But I just, it was really beautiful to be there and just to hear how they're all working so well together. So thank you to the Fog Fest board.
Thank you. Okay, I've attended a lot of meetings, and we deferred our council communications last time, super long meeting. But I did want to say a few things. The Local Government Working Group, which is the subcommittee formed by the Coastal Commission, met on July 30th, and Director Updegrave and City Manager and all, there's extreme interest in finding out more about, let me say this. Adoption of Pacifica's LCLUP was a pivotal moment because it shows that LCPs can be approved going forward more easily and with less friction. And it was stated that it's a demonstration that we've made some progress, which I think is absolutely the case. Not we Pacifica, but we the state. So other cities and jurisdictions that are, been working on these issues. There was a phrase, peeling back the layers of the Pacifica LCP approval process. So I want you to know that if you're not in your circles already, in this venue, in this place, there is this discussion. And so I don't know what exactly it's going to lead to, but I have a feeling it's going to lead to something like a presentation or maybe a site visit or something going somewhere. So I want to discuss that further with you about timing and to keep you apprised. But it's sort of been in the wind, and then it was stated on the 30th of July. So I was like, okay, I need to write this down and bring this forward. But there wasn't any time in the past little meetings. So that was great and useful and beneficial. I'll say there have been 2 or 3 things related to childcare that I've been involved in since I returned almost right out of the gate. I had the opportunity to meet with a consultant whose name escapes me right now, who is working for the county on the county blueprint for childcare, an update, which they do periodically, like every 5 years or something. But this seems like a very renewed interest, and the thing that I found most compelling and exciting and thrilling is that the consultant I was speaking with was hired not to do that blueprint. That's a different consultant. This one was to specifically look at the data and how it pertains and to write up a specific section for the coast side. So that was like, woo, woo, because if you're aware, then you can do something about it, right? That's the way I see it. So I figure pretty soon we're going to be hearing from 4Cs or somebody coming to make the rounds when the blueprint is done or ready for prime time. But I wanted to just put that on everyone's radar. And related to that, on the 27th, we just received a notice about a meeting. Councilmember Wright and I attended one in South San Francisco last week-ish or so. There are 3 meetings, 2 of the supervisors are doing, Jackie Spear and Lisa Gaucher. And their town hall, we want to hear from you type meetings. So the one is in South City, I forget where the one on the 27th is.
Palo Alto.
In Palo Alto, and there's a third one, and I don't think that one has been identified yet, the location. But it was very, and they're recorded, and the recordings are available through YouTube some kind of way. I haven't looked up the link yet. So just so you're aware. CCAG, we've got to give a little mini update on CCAG. Oh, it's, the CCAG meeting for July was rescheduled. I was like, oh, bummer, Greg, you don't get to be my alternate and attend CCAG for me. It was postponed because there was a keen interest in discussing a measure, the possibility of the County of San Mateo participating as part of a measure, not of the entire 9-county Bay Area, but like maybe, say, 5 counties or something. It would include, if you think of the systems, it would include Muni, BART, Samtrans VTA, I think it's called, and the East Bay AC Transit, and something else. I think I'm missing one. And so it's, go ahead, jump in.
No,
It's the coming together of these counties to possibly put a measure on the ballot to raise funds for public transportation, regional public transportation. That's the issue. And so the question was, and the purpose of the meeting was, should San Mateo County opt in or opt out? Or if opting in, which of these various opportunities would we want to pursue? And the upshot was CCAG recommended to opt in at, it was 1/4 cent or 1/2 cent. It's for 14 years, and the 1/2 cent has with it a feature that I and Councilmember Wright found very compelling, which is a return to source component, so that the County of San Mateo, for funds that are collected that are not employed immediately, will be returned to the source where they were collected for allocation for other projects, transportation projects, not like, oh, you know, whatever, Meals on Wheels. No, for transportation. And being, as we are all aware, our transportation needs on the coast are so challenged. Our needs are great, and what we presently are receiving is just not maybe meeting all of those needs. I made a public comment at the meeting, and I quickly looked at my phone, and it would take 1 hour and 45 minutes to take the bus from Lower Lindemar to Skyline, because you have to go to Daly City first. The bus we used to have that went up and took you there, they're consolidating to those hubs like BART, those bigger hubs. So I could go on, and I won't. I just want you to be aware that this moved forward. There was an amendment, or really a list of amendments brought forward by Assemblymember Diane Pappin. She's very concerned, as we are all, about accountability, because it's not like, here's money, here's money, here's money, and then if things aren't improved, what is that money being spent on, right? And so the interesting thing is that CCAG was not the ultimate body. They were simply making a recommendation to Samtrans, which was the ultimate body to decide whether San Mateo would be in or out. And we attended the Samtrans meeting as well, because we figured, well, if we spoke up and talked all about the coast at the CCAG meeting, perhaps it would be a good idea to bring those messages to the decision body, which we did. And I really don't remember where they landed, other than they took out some of the strong.
They took out the rock, but there'll be discussion of that tomorrow at the Board of Supervisors meeting at 1 o'clock. I will be there if anybody wants a ride.
And the rock is ROC, a regional
Operations Center.
something. No, it's something about accountability.
Accountability.
Yeah, and it was a big key component of what Diane Pappin had written into her thing. So lots going on there. there's discussion, well, why should we even do this? Maybe we should just do our own measure just in San Mateo County. There were like lots of things floating. But my feeling is we have an opportunity to get some microtransit, some dollars that would help bridge some of our needs that we are presently not receiving from Samtrans in the event that this $49 million return to source that we saw on.
45.
Oh, 45, sorry, excuse me. $45 million would be, and I was really grateful to our CCAG colleagues who put some items forward about doing outreach to all of the communities around those funds, not following standard formulas in terms of returning funds. So who knows if it will really come to anything in the end, but the great bit of the story is the advocacy is happening. Pacifica is being noticed. Others are advocating on our behalf, not just us.
Right.
But you gotta show up.
Yeah.
So we've been showing up. I do want to say two more things. One is OSPAC. There's an important Ani Trail kiosk dedication event happening September 6th at 10 a.m. at the top of Fassler, where the Ani Trail begins. This is a project that former mayor and council member Tiger Jazz Twirl's Big Stick worked very hard when he was the OSPAC liaison. He worked with Supervisor Mueller to get the funding for this. And it's really beautiful. It's repurposed redwood. It's very, I've seen, some images of it. But the dedication is happening at 10 a.m. that day. By the way, the parking lot will be closed. So if you're going to attend, park on Terra Nova and plan to walk. But that's exciting. And then, I think that's it. You said FogFest already. I did. Yeah, okay, that's all I have.
I turned my light on.
Oh, yes, you did. Sorry. Please go.
Your transit comments reminded me of a conversation I had with Mark Nogales, a council member from South City, who's on the Transportation Authority.
Yes, the TA.
Actually, we were talking exactly about the microtransit and the need for transit that would make a few stops in Pacifica, go up to Skyline College, because it's ridiculous that you have to go to Daly City and come back, and then over to BART and Caltrans, because we have no transportation that connects us to the train and to people going south. And he said that there are also grants through the Transportation Authority. He wasn't quite sure of the schedule, but in about a year and a half, and I'll make sure, do some research and find out when, that we could apply. So just finding out like what we need to apply. He said you have to do some studies, you have to propose a route, and how many stops, it has to be, a certain amount of time. But that would be really great if we could start to look into those things early, and especially with all this new housing and all this new traffic and so forth, to try to get a jump on that.
We'll get information through BPAC about that too.
Great.
It's TDA3.
Great.
Connectivity is the key.
And
All
it's
right.
9:57, just so you know.
So it's time to go. There being no further business before the council, we are,
Let me say something. We're taking more than 3 minutes. Okay?
yeah, I had 9 minutes coming to me.
That's right.
The meeting is adjourned at 9:57.
Yay, hooray.
Good job.
Believe it?
I can.
Just for me?
It's at 11.